Welcome to the 1980s movie graveyard, the show that lets forgotten movies have one last chance to shine. Now sit back and relax, enjoy the show.
Hello, retro movie lovers, and welcome back to the movie graveyard. Normally, September is not hockey season, but this September it is hockey season, both in the NHL and also on this podcast. So, been wanting to do this movie actually for a little while, especially since the Blu-ray was burning a hole in my pocket since I got it a couple months ago. I couldn't wait to do this, and might as well do it while we're in the midst of hockey playoff madness.
Yep, the finals are going on.
Yep. When we watched this movie a week ago, we had a team in the playoffs, and now we no longer do.
Don't remind me. That team that beat them better win the finals now.
Yeah.
They better win the cup.
Yeah. So anyway, that's how it goes. So, yeah.
So now we're going to watch the grimiest movie you'll ever see outside of a Texas Chainsaw Massacre or Rob Zombie movie.
Yeah. Rob Zombie's Youngblood. So we're going to get the movie rolling here. Damn, I feel like I'm yelling across an arena or something. But anyway, yeah, we're going to get the movie rolling here. I have the Blu-ray paused at the 22-second mark. Why the 22-second mark, you ask? Well, this is being, a Blu-ray that come out from a different company than the movie studio. First, there was a Kino Lorber, whatever, card. Then there was a brand spanking new MGM thing with the CGI super gussied up line. That's not the real beginning of this movie, and I'm sure the DVD didn't have that, on there or whatever. So we got at the 22-second mark. It's when the actual movie starts to begin. It starts out with this old scratchy 8mm home movie type thing. So
just like you'd expect from Texas Chainsaw Massacre.
Yeah, from Rob Zombie's Texas Chainsaw Hockey Youngblood. But yeah, so that's how it gets started here. So I'm gonna say 1, 2, 3, go. And when you hear me say the word go, hit play on your Blu-ray or DVD player remote, or maybe your VHS remote. That'd be cool if somebody watched along with the VHS. All right, everybody, remote in hand, 1, 2, 3, go. All right, we're rolling. I thought this was an interesting choice, way to start the movie out here.
Why?
Well, it's like a lot of times, you start these, whatever sports movies, they always start at the end of a game where the guy fails, and then you watch the movie where he's trying, or Rocky, you start out seeing he's a bum boxer, and then whereas this is just going all the way back to just home movies of when they were kids playing hockey, you know what I mean?
Because those movies that start like that, that's their part of the story. This one is just to let you know that these kids were born and raised on the ice, and so this is why he has his big goals of making it onto a team.
Yeah, you see the character, should say too, a Goober Peters Company production. I was like, man, they made all the cool sports movies back then, because the year before this movie came out, they also put out Vision Quest, which was a hit. So they definitely had a formula working of their sports movies.
One thing I noticed about this was how all the gear is CCM, and I remember that company, but it's funny how now it's everything's Bauer when you see in real life or whatever.
Yeah, I when I was a kid, because I never grew up around hockey or watched hockey or anything. We didn't really have hockey until we had minor league hockey, by the time I was probably around high school or something. I would only see hockey shit in movies and TV shows, and it was always CCM. So I thought CCM was a league or something. I didn't realize it was just a brand. You know what I mean?
I wonder if they still exist.
They got to. I mean, they were so big, unless they just got bought, then they got changed.
Bauer bought them.
Yeah, probably. But I thought this was pretty interesting. Basically, your title sequence is just Rob Lowe's character Dean Youngblood just practicing on the ice by himself. All his fancy skating moves, and especially these shots here where he's playing with the puck. Pretty much everybody involved in this movie, I think pretty much except for Swayze and Rob Lowe, everybody else had a hockey background. And the cinematographer, I don't think he was a hockey player, but he was Canadian and he knew how to skate very well. I mean, I'm sure he played as a kid or something, but he could skate so well that he made like an actual, like these shots here, he made an actual like harness where he could skate himself and like hold the camera. So like
wow.
that's why like a lot of the action seems so close in, and it's just like, oh, how'd they do that, you know? And like, yeah, because you can tell like the camera's close to the action, but also the camera's moving along with them. So it's like, yeah, and like, yeah, like Rob Lowe and Patrick Swayze, they had to use a lot of doubles and stuff for all their skating shit. I mean, they did learn how to skate, but there's some parts where, where it's really like, you know, complicated shit, or they have to go super fast. But pretty much everybody else, like all the hockey players you see, with a couple exceptions, but pretty much everybody was a real hockey player.
Including, did you say Keanu Reeves?
Yeah, Keanu Reeves. I'll bring up as they come along. I'll bring up who's the hockey players in this and what level of experience they have.
The 2 seconds of Keanu Reeves in this movie.
Yeah, Keanu's big movie adventure.
And then he plays a foreign character.
He does. But here we get the farm here. We realize he lives on the farm. And I think they just say the name of the where they live once. I thought it was Stanton, but the way I'm understanding, I don't think they're Canadian. I think just everywhere they go to play, like where he goes to play in the league, is Canadian.
Yeah, I don't think he is.
Yeah, because they. And what's weird is even when they do get up to Canada, like everybody they know up there is pretty much Americans up there, so nobody has like an accent or anything.
Is that where the team is supposed to be located, in Canada?
Yeah, like Hamilton,
Oh.
Mustangs, which they actually shot in Toronto, but I took it to be that, you know, Hamilton. So I guess we should say here's our first guy with the hockey experience here. It's actually the dad. Mm-hmm. He was actually, because like later on you get to see when he gets on the ice, because like they play it like he's not a hockey player, or like, or like he disapproves of his sons trying to play hockey, because they set up in this kind of like dinner scene here that his brother also went up to Hamilton, and he took like a puck or a stick to the eye, lost his eye. Yeah.
Yeah, I didn't. They never give you any kind of sense that the dad was involved in hockey in any way.
Yeah, not until that very end where he's like, "I'll show you how to teach.
Yeah,
I'll teach you how to fight on the ice." And then you can kind of tell, I was like, "Oh, damn, this guy kind of does seem like."
But even when he got on the ice and just started skating, I was like, "Wow!" Like for an older man, like it was impressive looking, and a giant. He's pretty tall.
Yeah, yeah. That's because he was the real deal. He played a long time in the NHL.
See, on this part, he's saying you're gonna have to learn the Canadian anthem.
Yeah.
So I don't. Yeah.
They're driving up.
Maybe they're like crossing over into Canada on this part.
I think that's supposed to be Niagara Falls back there. Like, they don't really, you know. And then, yeah, like, there's, like, a couple different arenas that were used for the Hamilton Arena. It's one of those deals, like all movies, the outside is one building, and the inside they actually used a different building.
Yeah, look at that cool car.
Yeah, there's a Corvette sitting there. I noticed, too, back then, like, you would always, in 80s, and even to a certain point up in the 90s, you would always see cars that were 20, 30 years old. Yeah. You don't really see that in movies now anymore. Like, no main character really drives, like, an old, like, Camaro or anything. You know, nowadays, like, whereas back then, like, everybody just, like, you know, especially, like, these working class type characters, they always had cool muscle cars and shit.
That's because they looked cool.
Yeah.
Now, cars from 20 or 30 years ago are just
like, little
normal.
Fucking, yeah.
There's no, like, special characteristics about them.
Yeah. But yeah, it's kind of funny because they set up that the dad didn't want him to go because, like, oh, we need the help on the farm, and the brother who had already kind of been through the hockey ringer, like, he still wanted his brother to chase his dream. Yeah, his brother drives a GTO. Mm-hmm. But, yeah, so he, like, talked his dad into, like, letting him go.
Yeah, he tells the brother, don't let these Canucks talk any shit to you.
Yeah, and like it's kind of funny the relationship him and the older brother have, because it's kind of like the brother is kind of like hard on him in certain ways, but he's always like pulling for him, like he's trying to like push him to like succeed.
It's like that tough love.
Yeah.
Kind of thing.
Yeah, I was gonna say because like the guy who plays the older brother, I was like, I know this guy, and his real name is Jim Youngs. And yeah, he was one of the guys in the movie The Wanderers, which we talked about a little while ago. One of the greasers. It just like took a while. I was like, I know this guy. He's so familiar to me. But
so his eye's not really messed up like that?
No.
Because it looks real.
Yeah, it's pretty funky. Like, it's supposed to be like he has a glass eye. I'm assuming it's some type of contact.
But even in the scene where they were sitting in the car and he was looking to the side, it even looked like it was cocked off to the side more than a normal eye would be. Unless it was just it's probably just the contact moved because he had his eyes to the side so much. That's usually what happened.
I'm sure they probably made a special one for him just to make it look like it was off.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's from Stanton. But, yeah, like, so, like, right off the bat, like, another thing that's cool is, like, we're probably less than 10 minutes in this movie, and pretty much, like, I say, like, a lot of the main conflict is going to be set up already in just the audition. Because, like, he's not even on the team yet. He's just, like, it's basically just the end of the season or towards the end of the season. And they just need to, you know, kind of fortify the bench, bring up, like, pretty much just one guy because he's the only guy out of all these auditions that they get. And, like, the regular players are just watching from the stands and shit, which that's where we get, you know, the main leader player of the team is Patrick Swayze. Which, like, it always... Yeah, Racky. So, the guy who plays Racky... So, he's facing off with Youngblood here on the ice. The guy who plays Racky, he again was a... He was a hockey player who played for... a few years. I think he played for 4 different teams in the minor leagues, and then he became an actor. I think kind of this movie was what got him into acting. I don't know how much more he did after that, but he is listed as being like more of an actor than a hockey player, but he definitely had experience in a lot of, like, they didn't go into detail when I was reading about it, but they said like a lot of the guys like you know, like in the skate scenes, I guess you should say, maybe not necessarily in the cast, like they were all went on to like actual NHL careers and stuff.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow.
But the thing that's kind of cool about this movie and what I like about it, I kind of discovered this movie like years ago, just wanting to see like you know, hunt down some Rob Lowe movies I hadn't seen. Yeah, here comes Racky. So Racky is like the main bully. Like he busts open Youngblood's eye here. And then he wants to fight him in a fucking, like, you gotta
this is
audition.
Like, this is, like, it's a big deal to see if you can hang, because, like, this ability to be able to fight back and, like, defend yourself is kind of, like, one of the main, you know, plot points of the movie.
Yeah, because Youngblood's pretty much got all the, you know, he's like a scorer type. He's pretty much got all the moves on the ice and stuff. But the problem, and we should say too, he's actually a child in this movie. Like, they set up early on that he's 17 years old. And, like, I know that's, like, a thing in a lot of places in hockey. Like, guys get started really young and stuff. But, yeah, like I'm assuming he's already graduated high school. Oh, there's Keanu. Get the first glance of him.
Did you see Swayze's giant freaking tape player?
Yeah,
Walkman?
His Walkman.
That would kill somebody from today to see something so giant like that.
I know that. Oh, why would you do that? Just stream it. Get it in the garbage. It's like, well, he's lifting weights. He wants to lift it. I don't like it. He has to put a tape inside that. Oh, great.
It's too big.
I'm going to ratchet the tape. It's like, yeah, this tape that's, you know, about half the size of your phone that you carry around with.
It's taking up too much space in the
It's
world.
only got one album on it. Well, you can make a mixtape if you wanted to. I hate it. Stream everything.
I need a playlist.
Yeah, playlist. But I think it's cool that like their shit is so old and grungy that like their weight room is just like in their locker room. Same with like the training thing. So yeah, good old Youngblood's gonna get his eye stitched up by a guy who like can't even see to thread the needle. He's so blind.
It's so gross, dude. Like, they actually show it when he's doing it.
Yeah. This is actually pretty good makeup. Like, if you look at the cut he has over his eye, it's pretty good.
This guy, he has no experience whatsoever.
Yeah.
And now he's timing himself.
And I think everybody in this movie, you know, in terms of the guys on the team, are supposed to be in their early 20s or whatever, but, like, he's clearly, like, the kid of the thing. You know, he's only 17 years old.
You think he's really getting that put through, or is it just, like, going through the makeup?
No, it's just going through the makeup, yeah, but
It looks like it's going through the skin.
Yeah, but the thing, the prosthetic, but I mean, it's like, you know, they have to be careful not to gouge is real, you know.
I know, that's all it looked like it was going through.
We kind of like get to know the coach here, and he's kind of like your typical hard ass.
He just found out he made the team.
Yeah, he's on the team.
Yeah, he has a reputation of being a fighting player, hockey player as well.
Yeah, a former player turned coach. And I'm blanking on the guy's name, but this guy's been in a million movies. But usually you don't see him playing like main parts and stuff. There he is cutting Racky. Well, not really cutting him, just telling him, you know, you didn't make the team.
And he's making fun of him because he's tiny.
Yeah, and Racky's like, but I beat the guy up you picked, blah, blah, blah. It's like, it ain't just about who can fight. I mean...
Because he's fast.
I mean, you don't really win hockey games by winning fights. You actually get... Even back then, you would get kicked out for fighting or get in the penalty box. But,
So that CCM company does still exist, and actually their skates are pretty freaking cool looking.
Are they? Yeah. I figured they still... Because even when we watched the Mighty Ducks, I think all their stuff was CCM.
Was it?
Yeah, I think a lot of it. And it's kind of cool, like, Rob Lowe, like, he wants to get revenge. He just walks out almost naked, just in his jock strap, with a hockey stick to fight Racky. But, like, Racky just, he misses him. Racky walks out a door and leaves. And then, like, here we get the love interest of the movie. Which, like, the way they set this up, like, you don't really know who this chick is at all.
She's just walking through the locker room.
Yeah.
In the grimy tunnel.
Yeah, the grimy tunnel.
It's all nasty right
When
there.
we say grimy tunnel, there is literally right by where his head was. It looks like piss and puke, like right
There's just like all this dripping, even behind her.
Yeah. I gotta say, I like sports movies that are about... I mean, like, the high school sports things are kind of cliche, whatever, but I like sports movies about, like, minor leagues and misfit teams and shit like that.
Yeah, I wasn't sure if I would like this, because I am kind of snobby in that I like seeing, like, kind of professional, you know, the upper level teams.
Yeah.
So I wasn't sure if I would like this, because you had said it was a minor league thing.
Yeah. And it's like, I'll be honest, like, hockey is like, you know, we kind of just recently got into hockey the last couple of years, casually. So, like, really all I really know about it personally is, like, the NHL. I mean, I know there's minor league teams, because used to have one in Cincinnati. I think they're still there, Cyclones. But I mean, just like there's, like, multiple levels of minor league baseball. Same thing with hockey. So, like, I don't even know, like, really how close these guys are to being the pros. Like, I've read different things, like, there's different leagues, like, junior, whatever, there's minor pros, so I don't even know, like, really how far down the rung these guys are, but it seems like they're pretty much as close to the bottom as you can get. Like, they have their own arena and everything, but, I mean, I think that's just more because it's par for the course for Canada, you know what I mean? Like,
yeah.
Like, even if it was, like, the, you know, the really minor leagues, like, you know, in Canada, small towns, like... Just like here, like they have small town football. I'm sure, you know, minor league hockey is, you know.
So they're hazing him in.
Yeah, this is a big hazing scene, which I don't know how much of a hazing it is. Like, Patrick Swayze gets all maniacal. He puts a jockstrap on his face like it's a operating mask, but it's like actually his jockstrap. So it's just like, well, you're putting your like fucking balls, sweat, and everything all in your mouth. And, yeah, basically the hazing is, like, it's real nervous that, you know, they shave his balls, but, like, they make all these jokes that, oh, the last guy, we cut his testicles off and all this kind of stuff. So, yeah, definitely hijinks and whatever. But, we have a screaming animal in this house that must be dealt with. But, yeah, so basically, just, like, this part of the movie is you're just getting, like, acquainted more with, you know, the journey of a 17-year-old kid. I mean, he even got a car. His brother dropped him off and just left him in this town to basically go play hockey. So he goes to, like, the boarding house, which is where, like, a lot of hockey players come to stay in the town. And this lady, I'm blanking on her name. It'll come up on the subtitles here in a second. But she kind of seems like, at first when you see her, she kind of seems like a wholesome, I won't say grandma because she's not old enough to be a grandma, but like a wholesome, you know, woman in her probably late 30s, early 40s. And then you find out like she's real raunchy and stuff. But Yeah. They keep wanting to say her name, but they don't show it in here. Later they will. But, like,
I'm actually gonna say it.
no, I don't think she will.
Oh.
Yeah.
Oh, I think the first time you really hear it is when Swayze mentioned. Oh, here it is.
Yeah, Miss McGill. Yeah, I don't know what Miss McGill's deal is, if she was never married or what, but
Oh my God.
but like I was saying that, like, when you see her face, she looks like, you know, like a homely woman, and then like they show her ass in like these shorts, and like you realize she's like parading around.
I like how he just has a drumstick in his hand, just chilling on his bed.
And we should say he really is from the country, because he literally wears cowboy boots.
Yeah, always. He's always wearing cowboy boots and a flannel.
Yeah. So I guess they're trying to, you know, kind of paint the picture with his image. He's just like the American cowboy type, you know.
And here she's bringing her tea, and that usually is the signal of what's about to happen.
Yeah. So she brings the tea, and the next thing you know, she's taking her clothes off. And like, I gotta say, too, it's like, first of all, not that she would ask or care, but again, you know, this would be major scandal now, because he's 17 years old, having sex with this older lady. But yeah.
Sipping the tea means something different to her.
Yeah. Oh, this tea's too hot. Let me put it down and if I take my shirt off. Yeah.
She's initiating it.
Yeah. And like, it's kind of like weird and creepy, because she shows him all these hockey cards of all the guys who stayed there over the years. But basically, like, first he's just kind of like, you know, he's naive. He doesn't know what's going on. He's like, oh, like, you know, oh, these guys stay here, oh, cool. And then, like, finally when you realize what her whole game is, you realize that basically these are all the guys she's banged and stuff. Alright, restart. So, yeah, basically, yeah, she's talking about all the players that have stayed there, meaning all the players she has banged.
Oh, my God.
And then just real quick, I mean, it's just played for comedy. Like, I don't think you see really any nudity here.
No.
But what's funny is, like, the other guys stay in the house, Keanu and this other guy. Keanu was super young, too. He was only, like, a year or two out of high school when he filmed this movie.
And they're talking about how she does it with them, too.
Yeah. Or it seems like she just does it when they first get there, though. Because, like, Keanu's like, yeah, she did whatever when I first came last year.
But then that guy said she did it to me last night.
Oh, okay. So it's just, like, some is, like, one time, others are ongoing. But, yeah, so Keanu actually had a hockey experience, too, and, like, this is his first movie. He had done a Coke commercial where he played a bicyclist, and then he did, like, a couple, like, little TV spot, you know, guest starring things in little TV movies and shit. But this is actually Keanu's first movie. Yeah, you just can see, because I noticed Keanu always had, like, around his neck, he has, like, some acne scars, but, like, in that one shot, you can actually see he still had the acne back then.
That was funny. I mean, it obviously makes sense because usually hockey guys are foreign, but it's just funny seeing him do that crazy accent.
Yeah.
It sounded like he was putting it on.
Because I want to say Keanu grew up in Canada, didn't he?
Oh, I don't know. I'm not sure.
Yeah, like, I don't know where he's, like, a citizen of, but, like, I thought he had, you know. But he was actually a high school goalie. And his nickname as a goalie was actually The Wall. So, like, yeah.
That's funny. He says the only sport for middle-sized white guys.
Yeah. Yeah, Keanu Charles Reeves is a Canadian actor born in Beirut. He grew up in Toronto. So.
Yeah, that's right. I remember he was born in Beirut. This thing we kind of get a glimpse, because up to this point, Patrick Swayze seemed like he was going to just be some asshole guy, but
yeah,
you finally get a peek into, like, you know, that he was just giving the new guy a hard time, because when they're talking about how Raki hit Rob Lowe's character, like, he's trying to say, like, oh, you know, he got me out of nowhere, and Patrick Swayze says, yeah, he's even rough for this league.
Yeah.
So, like, he's finally kind of opening up and being a nice guy.
Yeah, and, like, it's kind of funny, too, because, like, the structure of this movie, I think it's, like, you know, because there's so many, like, the writer-director was a hockey player and stuff, is, like, what I like about this movie, it's less about, even though they do, like, work in the thing of, like, they win the playoff game or whatever, or the championship or whatever they win at the end, like, It's really more about the experience of being a hockey player.
What was with this guy with no teeth? Like, that was so weird.
Yeah, like this one guy on the team, like he completely has like no teeth, and like obviously a lot of hockey players lose their front teeth, but I mean this guy's pretty young. He probably looks like he's in his late 20s.
And you can tell it's real because he keeps moving his mouth like that. The dentures aren't in his mouth. Like he's moving his mouth like he has no teeth.
Yeah, I'm curious if like I have to keep an eye to see if we see him skate a lot or whatever. Like maybe he wasn't a hockey player, maybe he was just like a guy who had no teeth that they got, you know.
Oh my
but I mean, it
God,
looks like
so
he's genuinely toothless.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's Keanu. Keanu is like, I mean, obviously not because the voice. He has this like French Canadian accent in this movie, but like,
Is that what it's supposed to be?
yeah, yeah. But it's just like he totally has like the look of, pretty much like his hair's a little bit shorter, but like he pretty much looks like he's straight out of Bill and Ted in this one.
So now they're hazing him again.
Yeah.
Making him drink all those shots, and they're not drinking them.
Yeah, so basically, like, we should say the scene is at the local bar, and, like, they're goofing on all these local groupie girls, getting them drunk for no reason.
Oh, my God.
Because, like, when I first watched this the other day or whatever, like, I thought this was going to be, like, they're just getting these girls drunk to, like, basically run a train on them, but it's basically just, they just make fun of everybody. Like, they're just a bunch of goofy guys.
That part where she blows the drink all in her face is so gross.
Yeah. I don't even know if we explained it. The guy who took his teeth out, they put it in a girl's drink, and then she, like, was like, oh, gross.
She was all grossed out.
Yeah. But basically, because, like, they're ordering all these shots, but then everybody was just pouring their shots out or whatever.
Yeah.
And Rob Lowe was drinking them. And plus, he's a lightweight because, he's a kid or whatever. But, like, now they are at practice next day, and, like, he's totally, like, dog shit. Like, sweating or whatever.
Dang, look at Keanu.
Yeah, Keanu was a... We should say, too, we keep talking about Keanu like he's a major player in this movie. Like, he pretty much all his scenes are over with already.
Yeah, this is it.
Yeah, like, we saw, he stays in the boarding house with them. We saw the bar scene. And then he literally walks through a couple more scenes, and then, like, that's pretty much... He just disappears out of the rest of the movie.
These drills, man, they're hardcore. Like, I can't even imagine... I can barely walk in ice skates, more or less, do all this stuff in them.
Well, yeah, they crawl on their hands and knees. They do tug of war with the sticks. It's pretty cool. And the tug of war is cool because you basically have to like keep readjusting your footwork so you don't fall down.
One thing I kept noticing about this was the ice. Like, it looks like there's hardly any ice on there. Like,
yeah,
it's strange. It's such a strange looking rink.
Well, yeah, like, I mean, I know the way they do it now, like, the white that you see, like, that's not actually the ice, like, it's just white plastic, and then, like, what you think is the ice is really just, like, a thin layer,
Yeah. Yeah, I never really knew how thick it was.
Yeah, it's probably only a couple inches. And it's constantly getting eaten away as you skate it away, and that's why they redo it and refreeze it.
Yeah, I'm always surprised, like, when the Zamboni comes around, like, it wets it a lot when it comes around. Like,
yeah.
I'm always surprised how much it's still icy afterwards.
Yeah. I think it's basically the water fills in the cracks kind of thing. So, like, that's why they have to put a lot of water.
I don't know, for some reason the concept of an ice rink and how they're able to, like, create it out of nothing, like, I'm, like, so amazed by that. Like, the concept of it, of how to do it. I mean, I've never learned exactly what the technique is behind it to make the rink, but it seems like such an interesting process.
So here he is, like, walking around the town looking for something to do in his off time. He's walking by the local movie theater, and I just thought this was beyond bizarre that, like, they prominently featured the Slumber Party Massacre, which is, like, a very, like, even for a slasher movie, it was a very B movie-ish one. It was like nowhere in the same leagues as, like, Friday the 13th or whatever. And, like, they show the poster, they talk about it, it gets mentioned again later. But yeah, so the girl comes up, and we still don't know who this girl is in the story. Like, we're still getting misdirected here a little bit. So he just is after this girl because she's cute or whatever. That trash can, I remember seeing those as a kid. But, yeah, so he's after this girl. He's going to follow her into this, like, I guess it's like a local drugstore or whatever. But, she's like the love interest, but all that's going to come with a hook here, as we'll see in a couple minutes here. But, again, like, we're like a good chunk of the way into this movie, and it's still, like, like, we don't really know where it's going yet. It's just kind of like, damn, that's a lot of Rolos and candies and shit there.
Florets, I remember those.
Yeah. Yeah, yeah. Rob Lowe sees like some naughty books in here. Like this one even has nudity on the cover.
Of course, he wants it.
And I guess we should say too that this is, if I'm not mistaken, let me grab the box here. Yeah, this is an R-rated sports movie, which, you know, unless you're like doing like some super serious like whatever shit like Oliver Stone Any Given Sunday or something. Like, you don't really get R-rated sports movies that much because, like, they always make them to try to appeal to a family audience. So, like, that's another thing that's, like, you know, different about this one. Whereas, like, the 80s, like, even movies aimed at young people, like, it still was all about trying to be R-rated and stuff, you know?
You snuck it in.
Yeah, so the girl buys him a copy of Moby Dick. Then he sneaks in his porno book, puts it in the same bag. That's going to lead to more hijinks here. Where he sees the coach coming, he's like, oh shit, the coach. And then the girl says, oh, hi, Dad. So, like, this is where we find out this girl that's his love interest. Which, for real, no other reason is she his love interest other than he met her in a hallway earlier in the movie.
She's the only girl around.
Yeah. But, you know, like, any good sports movie, just like when we did All the Right Moves with Tom Cruise, you know, like, there's always got to be some kind of complication. So, yeah, he's like, oh, she bought me a book. And, of course, dummy pulls out the porno book. Like, if I was the coach right then and there, I'd be like, I'd just be grabbing my daughter saying, like, get away from this asshole. Like,
because he knows he's an athlete.
yeah.
He knows he's dealing with boys and hormones.
Yeah. So, obviously, this is going to be somewhat of a conflict. And, like, I don't know, like, it's kind of like whatever, like, it seems like they're trying to keep, like, their dating a secret, but at the same time, like, it never really becomes, like, a main plot point. Like, it's not like the coach is trying to cut him from the team or anything because of it.
No, but he does take it out on him during the game when he doesn't put him in.
Yeah. Yeah, I guess it is true. But at the same time, he was, like, such a new guy to the team, you know?
They're getting to know each other.
Mm-hmm. This is where you basically find out that, like I said, everybody in Canada in this movie is American, and the coach and his daughter are. You know, they moved all around and stuff. I'm assuming, you know, starting back when she was young, probably when he was still a player. I thought this was funny too that there's a lady back there like polishing the Slumber Party Massacre poster, like. Like, I've never seen, like, I mean, I'm sure they probably had to do it when you had glass poster displays like that, but I guess you had to squeegee them to keep them clean every night. Just an interesting bit of background, you know, what do you call it, extra character thing going on, action. But yeah, so, like, basically, you know, he's been coaching, moving around, trying to move up, you know. I mean, he's a minor league coach, so I'm sure they're probably moving nonstop. He's trying to... you know, work his way up the ranks or whatever.
It's so funny because, like, when you look at Rob Lowe and his face, like, when you see him now, like, he looks so much the same. Like, it's so crazy. Like, he's one of those guys that hardly aged. Yeah,
he's hardly aged. And I mean, I would say, if anything, he's only kind of, like, buffed up more since this time. Yeah. But for the most part, like, his weight has always stayed the same. Yeah. You know, his hair has always stayed the same. I'm sure, obviously, it probably went gray at some point. He probably dyes it now. But, I mean, he never lost any hair, like, at all. Like, it looks exactly the same. His face looks the same. He's definitely kind of timeless.
Because I saw him on, like, when, like, the whole virus thing started. They started coming up with all these fake TV shows on TV for people to watch because everything had to go out of production. Mm. Like, there was that show Celebrity Watch Party where they just had people watching stuff and, like, they're filming the celebrities like watching it. Yeah. And him and his two sons were one of the families that was like they were watching the Michael Jordan documentary.
Oh, the last whatever.
The Last Dance, I think it was, no?
Yeah, I think it was.
And he's like talking to the sons about how basketball back then was so much better than it is now, and the boys are like, "What?"
I know. I know it's hard for people, and you always think it's just like old farts talking. But oh my god, like myself, that's when I became a basketball fan. Was during the heyday of Michael Jordan.
But
Oh my
like,
god, it was so much better, brother.
just like that's the most recent thing that I've seen of Rob Lowe, and like it's funny because he looks exactly the same. Like obviously a little bit older, well, a lot older, but you could barely tell. I mean,
I know. This is nasty. This guy getting this cortisone shot in that area of his shoulder that's like all scar tissue. It's just gross. Good old Keanu.
Oh, this part. Yeah, I want to read what he says here because I didn't understand that. Oh, fan club.
Toronto chapter.
Oh, he eats it.
Yeah.
That's so gross. Ugh.
Got any more?
And
he wants to eat a rose too. So, like, I never took that, like, did he have a breakup with the girl, or did, like, you know...
I don't know, it just seemed like it was from a girl from the fan club.
Yeah. This is funny that the coach is mad that this guy's blow-drying and combing his hair before the game.
Yeah. That was weird. Especially when he's just going to cover it with a helmet.
Exactly. And just, like, sweat in it, too. It's like... Like, I've only been ice skating, I think, maybe once. So, I mean, I don't know what it's like to be a hockey player, but, like, I always thought it was weird that, like, you're on the cold ice, but because you're working so hard and dragging all that padding around, like, you're sweating, too. They have to feel nasty, like, after a game, how clammy, sweaty they are.
Well, you do get hot, because I remember, because I used to take lessons when I was younger, and, like, when you're, like, working hard doing stuff, like, it doesn't matter. Like, your face and your cheeks stay cold, but yeah, your body gets real warmed up, because I used to, like, bundle up when I used to go.
Yeah.
And I would get, like, that nasty prickly feeling, like, when you start getting hot and stuff. Like, it was like you were outside. It was like you don't feel it after a while.
Yeah. So, yeah, it's kind of interesting that, you know, Francis Ford Coppola's The Outsiders was such, like, a big launching pad for a lot of young actors a couple years before this. And I totally forgot, but I think Swayze is in The Outsiders, too, ain't he?
Yeah, he plays the older brother.
Yeah, the older brother, yeah. I totally forgot about that. So this is kind of like an Outsiders reunion.
Yeah.
Like, I was just thinking in my mind, because this movie came out in 86, but it was filmed in the summer of 84. But, like, yeah, like, it just, like, you know, kind of like, what'd you say?
He plays Derry.
Oh, that's right, Derry. For some reason, I totally had that mixed up. I totally forgot that. But, like, yeah. So it's like they kind of all exploded out of that. Before the Brat Pack, there was kind of like the Outsiders guys. And, trying to think. So it was, yeah, that's what it was. It was basically the brothers were, Swayze, Rob Lowe, and then, C. Thomas Howe. Mm-hmm. But, yeah, so it's kind of interesting that they kind of, like, hooked up again, but then, like, before this, well, actually pretty much right when The Outsiders came out, I guess Cruise was taking off, because, like, in my mind, I was just like, oh, Swayze was, you know, kind of coming off Red Dawn, but, yeah, he was kind of, like, already kind of up there because of The Outsiders. But, even though these movies kind of came out a couple years apart or whatever, how would you, just your own personal opinion of, like, what you thought of each movie? Because just recently, we dived deep into the Tom Cruise cinematic universe with All the Right Moves. How do you think the Outsiders, you know, Outsiders versus Outsiders type thing, like, who do you think made the better sports movie, Tom Cruise or Rob Lowe and Patrick Swayze here?
I don't know. To me, they're like so different because I don't really feel like All the Right Moves is really necessarily a football movie. Like, I feel like it's more about, like, the small town kid kind of thing trying to escape. I don't know. I hate to say it, but I think it's a Tom Cruise one.
Yeah. You know, like, I wanted to say, because, like, this is, like, such a, like, a more, like on the surface, this is such a more interesting, like, situation to me. Like, and again, like, they showed the girl in class, like, I don't know, is she in college? Is she still in high school? Like, he's 17, so, like, how, like, did he graduate early? Like, or is he literally just dropping out of school to play hockey? Like, we never really don't know those details of the story. So, like, this could possibly, you know, whatever, you could technically say this might be a high school set movie, but it's really not, though, because he doesn't go to school, you know.
Yeah, I would say it's just, like, a young adult movie. Because, like, how you were saying earlier that, like, it was... I can't remember now what you were saying earlier, but I was gonna say like this one is just more of like a the focus is more like towards a young adult audience,
Yeah,
as opposed to like an adult audience.
yeah, yeah. I guess there is a distinction when you do a high school sports movie because
No, because you were talking about how R-rated sports movies don't really exist anymore.
yeah,
Because they're usually for families, and that's what I was gonna say. That yeah, this one is not so much like a family movie; it's just made for like young adults.
yeah.
The focus is actually the 18 to whatever. No, I wouldn't say 49, but
Like now they say 18-40, but I think
Yeah.
back then they would be like more like 18 to 30 demographic.
yeah, like there was actually a category of movies back then for young people
Yeah.
that doesn't exist anymore. Oh, here's Keanu again.
Yeah, Keanu's partying after the game. But yeah, and then we find out his girlfriend drives the Zamboni.
Well, she said her dream is to drive the Zamboni at Madison Square Garden.
Yeah, which is interesting.
She did mention that. I couldn't tell if she was just kidding or because the way her dad just makes her do everything hockey.
Yeah, I saw her say that on the subtitles earlier, but I totally thought it was like a joke.
Like I was watching her face when she was saying it, and like she didn't like kind of do a side smile or anything. She seemed like she was really saying it for reals. This part's funny.
Yeah, like he pretends like he got ran over by the Zamboni and just leaves his shoe on the ground, so it does look like he's like underneath the thing.
Yeah, he puts his boot there.
Yeah. I want to say this actress's name is, I think this is Cynthia Gibbs. She's really good. I know she's been in other movies. I could be wrong. I thought she was in Death Warrant with Van Damme, but I could be wrong. But yeah, like I kind of remember her from the time, but I don't really remember really any like other movies she was in.
Yeah, she has like a cute chipmunk face.
Yeah. And like I noticed too, like back then, like they had all the little advertisements around like the rink and like even like the baseboards or whatever. But like as far as I can tell, it didn't seem like that. Like they weren't freezing the advertisements into the ice the way they do now.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm sure that's a modern thing.
Yeah,
so they could get in as many as possible. Because hockey, man, if there's advertising, if ever you've seen it, it's in freaking hockey. Because they got them around the sides, and then they got them in the ice. It's like, it's out of control with advertising.
I gotta say, like advertising in sports really like annoys me just visually. It's like visual pollution, just like, you know, there can be noise pollution. Like I hate it when baseball started doing it all like along the. It's like when you sit in a baseball stadium, there's advertisements everywhere. Like shouldn't be in the field of play either.
Because it's on the field and then it's on the graphics too.
Yeah,
like, yeah, it's a lot.
And like, and obviously too, like it pretty much killed my enjoyment of the NBA when they put the advertisements actually on the jersey. It's bad enough when they put them on the court. Now they have them on the jersey. It's so cheesy. But I gotta say, hockey for some reason, maybe it's just because I'm late to the game in hockey. But like hockey is just like I don't know, like even though I see that they're there, like they don't bother me as much. It's like they blend into the rink a little better or something.
I think it's because for one, the players aren't wearing them on their uniforms.
Yeah.
And two, even if they were, you wouldn't really be able to see it because of the way the camera is angled.
Yeah.
But also, it's just stuff's going too fast. Like you're paying attention to the game. You're actually paying attention to the game. You're not really like looking anywhere else.
Well, also too, like I don't know why, but I kind of like those cheesy, like the ones that they have like frozen into the ice at center court or whatever. Like when they tip off, I don't know why. Like I think it's just because like a lot of M&M sponsors a lot of the arenas, so like I always like seeing the M&M's one for some reason. But if it's something bland for like insurance or something, I don't give a shit. So yeah, so like this was a very economical choice in this movie. They go on their first date. And they just go skating on the, like, I guess it's like free skating night or whatever, like where anybody can come in and skate on the ice. Like, they just stayed in the rink pretty much for their date. It's like a skate party, a bunch of older people. And, like, you just get the romantic hijinks of them skating. They're both very good skaters, obviously. And then there's, like, this little annoying guard guy that, like, flies around and blows a whistle and tries to stop people from doing hijinks and shit. They're in the old people skating party.
Yeah, they're gonna have like a big stunt going on here in a second.
Yeah, this guy just, which like I get like why they would or whatever, but like I kind of like I have to say like this when we were watching it the other night, I was like kind of didn't dig this scene. Like so clownish, he flies into the cake and shit.
Yeah,
But I just kind of we've so much of the movie already is based around skating and hockey and shit. Like, they should have went on a real date somewhere. Although I do like this part where they're running down the hallways, they almost get seen by the coach. He's like jumping around, singing some old ass Sinatra song.
Oh my god, those walls! Look at the door frame.
Like,
oh my god,
it just like liquid piss rolling down the walls everywhere.
That's what I'm telling you. It's the grimiest movie you'll ever see.
Like, can you just not repaint it or pressure wash it? I do like this part though. Like, I guess it's the little custodian's office or whatever, like the machine shop and shit.
Equipment room.
Yeah, where she looks like she studies and stuff there.
She's got a little office set up with her personal thing.
Yeah, like she got pictures of her dad when her dad played for the Rangers. You got Rolling Stone posters and shit. That's hilarious that they have a photo of her dad fighting and like she's in the background in the stands.
I was so curious, like, cause like you don't see any Bauer stuff on here. Like, I was just curious, like, looking up, like, when did Bauer even exist at that time? They say they've been in existence for 80 years, over 80 years now. So I guess they did. It was just CCM had the rights to hockey or something.
Yeah.
And it says I didn't know Bauer actually was bought by Nike at one point.
Interesting.
And then Nike sold them to some other investors.
I was gonna say in the 80s, CCM was probably like how Nike is now, and Bauer was probably like the Puma or whatever.
Oh shoot, Bauer's existed since 1927. That's crazy. So interesting.
Over almost 90 years, really.
Yeah. They haven't updated their website. Well, it says over 80. Well, 90, yeah.
So like, we're like pretty deep into the movie now, and like there's been like not a whole lot of actual like hockey scenes. Yeah, we're like, well, not exactly, but we're almost at the halfway mark, and like it's kind of interesting because a lot of I guess there's other stuff happening, but like a lot of the important hockey scenes happen late in the movie.
Yeah.
What did you think about that approach to like the movie? Like, did it seem like they're kind of like doing that? I mean, they are building up the characters, but do you think also too, because hockey, like even then, wasn't the most popular sport? You think they were trying to like make this movie for more viewers other than just hockey fans? You know what I mean?
I mean, it could have been also just the budget, but All the Right Moves did the same thing. Like, they didn't really, how we were talking about during that one, they didn't spend like half the movie showing one game or showing various games. They kind of had just the main, game, and that was it that they really showed. So I think just showing like a game for the whole, like for a big portion of the movie, I just don't think that was a thing back then in the movies. Like, because they actually did care about character development in movies. Like, that was a film. It was, you wanted to have deep characters and have the characters have relationships. Like, now it's like for some reason they want to, like in sports movies, they want to recreate games, and it's just kind of like, well, I could go watch a game.
I know.
I mean, I guess it's different because like in a movie game, you're seeing the characters, what they're saying during the game and all that kind of stuff that we obviously don't have access to, sort of, because now we kind of have that during live games too. But it's just, I just think it was a different way of filmmaking back then.
They're focusing more on the character drama than like. I know what you mean, because that's why I've kind of like in my mind, even though I own a handful of them, and there's some of like kind of like my favorite movies. Like, I always feel like I'm not into sports movies because like for so long, like I would go to see sports movies, with my dad or whatever, and like they weren't good because they were like, it was just nonstop football shit and just like, you know what I mean? It was like not really like.
Well, and you notice, like, this one I'm sure is probably, like, 90 minutes or something. Like, it's probably a shorter length.
This one's, like, a little, like, an hour and 50 minutes, so it's almost 2 hours.
2 hours. Yeah. But now, in movies that are sports movies, they're usually 2+ hours.
Yeah,
or maybe
like
2.5. Yeah, so it's like, they're just adding it on. They're just making the movie longer just to add in the sports scene. So.
Yeah.
I don't know if it's just that they don't trust that the writing was good enough or what for the characters or what.
Just
to be entertaining to show a game. I don't know. Yeah,
because like I feel like sports movies in the 90s and 2000s, like the preview would be like all the character shit and with like little flashes of the game, but then when like you go to see the movie, they're always having a practice or they're always like you don't really see them outside of like the sports setting.
Yeah.
Yeah, so like
here comes the dirtiest love scene you'll ever see in your life.
Yeah, so like this is supposed to be sweet and tender, and keep in mind like they went on one date, which was in the same building that they're always in, so they never really went on a date.
They're moving fast.
But I mean, I guess I mean, she's a pretty girl and everything, but I guess we have to be honest that this is Rob Lowe. Of course, she's going to want to have sex with him like right away.
Well, they're young. They're gonna just do it whenever. They don't care.
Which, like, you know, like I don't know, like what the goal or the reasoning behind making him so young, and like again, like I'm just confused. Like I think this would play a lot different if you knew they were both college age. You know what I mean?
They're laughing because she's wearing thermal pants or leggings.
Yeah, trying to like strip down all sexy, and she got her like thermal underwear on.
Oh, here we go.
Yeah,
with her. After I saw this scene, it totally made me want to go shave my legs.
Oh, because she has like that peach fuzz on her butt or whatever.
No, it was like her whole thigh was covered in hair.
Yeah, well, I think that's one of those things where like under normal whatever, you probably wouldn't like notice it, but it's like movie lighting so bright.
It was like reflecting off the fire.
Yeah. So like and they get really sweaty too. They're both sweating.
Somehow they're already sweaty, even though they just fell down on the bed.
Yeah, but you totally get to see her chest and everything. Like again, that's like 80. Like that's why it's so hard for me, and like I don't really get like people now who defend PG-13 so much. It's just like it's like you know yeah. By the way, I was like trying to enjoy this scene the other day, and like you know it closes up because before they were on the other position, he was on top. And then, like, they do the close-up of that butt, and I'm like, am I looking at a girl's butt, or am I looking at Rob Lowe's butt? Because he was on top first.
But then they turned around.
Yeah, but, like, you know, it's happening quick. So I'm, like, looking at that ass, and I'm like, is that a girl's ass? Is that Rob Lowe's ass?
Then you see his hairy leg in the background.
Yeah. But, yeah, so, like, they're banging away, and basically, like, more hijinks for this movie. They're cutting down to the, whatever she is, the house lady. She's coming up with, I don't know what it is, hot cocoa and ice cream or something.
It looks like the tea.
But, like, what was that dessert?
It looks like ice cream.
Yeah, ice cream with a cherry top. She wants to go get.
And then this part, they go all crazy with that water because they're probably all burning up.
Well, we should say they're having sex, like, literally 10 inches from a roaring fireplace. Another excuse to show her chest some more. But, like, that's what I mean, though. It's like...
I think this was just them messing around like during the scene, and they just went with it and kept it in the movie.
And then the lady comes in with her tea, and she's totally in her robe, so it's obvious she wanted to bang Rob Lowe. And like I really thought this was going to have a huge payoff. Like she's so disturbed that like she can't come in and bang him right there in her fake kimono robe or whatever it is.
She's all soaked.
Yeah, but I mean like. These guys are like the local heroes, the local hockey, whatever. Like, I get that they...
Room service?
Yeah. They're just having more water fights underneath. But, like, I was surprised that lady was so, like, surprised and dejected. Like, did she think, like, all these, like, young hockey players are going to come to town and only have sex with her, the old lady who runs the boarding house? Like, you know what I mean? Like, I would think that every weekend, like, all those guys would have different girls in their rooms or whatever.
Look at his fridge. It's like a tiger fridge. Yeah.
Like, Patrick Swayze has the coolest, like, lair loft apartment here. Like, this was some real set decorating. He looks awesome. Like, it's just, like, the perfect, awesome bachelor pad.
I like this scene because it's, like, it's so, like, big brotherly and, like, the way Swayze's face is. Like, he got the puck out of the trash for him and, like... It's really sweet.
Yeah, we should say there was a whole thing in that first game scene where Rob Lowe got his first goal and Swayze saved the puck for him, and then like Rob Lowe got benched or whatever, so then he just threw the puck in the trash, and then Swayze saved it for him. But it totally is like almost like a fraternity type situation between all the players, and Swayze's kind of like the alpha dog. But what I was saying before during the sex scene, like it's just like when you grow up. And you watch movies, like, during, you know, just like how wrestling had an Attitude Era, now has PG Era. Like, when you grow up and like, okay, there's a sex scene in a movie, so you see, you know, an ass or a pair of boobs or whatever, like you know, like that's just like, okay, like you're doing a sex scene, so you're going to show nudity. Now everything is so chaste in movies for overseas or whatever that it's just weird to me that like, and I mean, you know, like it's like sex scenes have kind of been all eliminated from films, which is like whatever, you know. It's a little like weird and strange that there's no sex scenes in movies anymore. You know, that's like saying people don't have sex anymore, which isn't true. But like, what really bothers me more than anything is like the violence in horror movies that are toned down. It's just like, you're gonna do a horror movie and never show anything. There's so many movies now that just cut away and never show shit. Like, I don't know, like I like better when, you know, the era when it was okay to actually show shit happen in a movie, you know, no matter what it was.
I mean, it's just, it's like, I mean, I know movies aren't real, but they're supposed to depict reality, and it's just like, when you see sex scenes now where, like, the woman is, like, constantly trying to keep a sheet wrapped around her and stuff, it's like, who has sex like that? Like, unless it's, like, a woman who just really has no confidence in herself and really doesn't want the guy to see her or whatever, like, I get that, but, I mean, that's not... Usually in movies, the sex scenes are passionate. It's like the woman is going to keep trying to put the sheet up over her boobs every time she turns around.
Well, I mean, why would you if there's nobody else in the room? You know what I mean?
Well, because she's embarrassed of the guy seeing her. But I mean, again, in movies, you're depicting a passionate scene. She's not going to care about that. She's going to want to get a piece. Like, it just, I don't know. It's weird.
Or it's just like, to me, like the horror movies, how they're, and people say, I don't need to see the, you know, all the blood, and I don't need to see the blah, 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 blah. But I'm kind of like, I was like, so basically, like, when they do a lot of these horror movies where now it's always like a ghost or whatever, pull somebody, everybody just gets pulled away. It's like, it's kind of like, so basically what you did was you made a complete horror movie, and then, like, you literally just didn't film the death scenes. Like, you just didn't film, like, no, we're just not going to shoot that. You know what I mean? Like, to me, that's cheesy, like... Like, what's even the point, you know? Like, I'm not even saying you have to have, like, the goriest death scene or the most nudity-filled sex scene, but, like, show something about that moment in the story that you're telling that story of, like, that's, like, truthful or feels real. Like, they just have no problem just saying, well, So this is where Keanu disappears. There's the goalie. I'm assuming that's Keanu. Underneath. It could be somebody else, but, like, pretty much from this point, I don't think you ever see Keanu's face ever again.
Well, like, the conversation they were just having right now, they were kind of talking about how, you know, the hockey owners and the coaches and stuff, like, they know how much those guys want to play, and, like, they basically have them by the balls, because they grow up and all they want to do is play hockey, and, like, they know that, like, you know, the team owners know that, and so they basically have their life in their hands.
Yeah, so... This is where they set up what it's like being on the road game, and there is different signs there. Like, these crowds are nasty. Like, one said "pussies on ice," the other one said you should say Swayze. His name is Derek Sutton. Some kid had a big cardboard sign that just said "Sutton is a fag" on it. So I mean, this is really like nasty crowds and shit. And then when the teams take the ice, we realize now Rocky is on this other team, the bully guy from earlier in the movie.
The referee. Oh my god.
Yeah, this is where you get introduced by the bumbling referee who fucking blows every call.
He was in the movie earlier, but he wasn't coming off as like
lame. Yeah, he wasn't doing anything important at the time.
Let's talk about these goalie masks, by the way.
Yeah, so
we're like old school.
We were talking like, you know, or actually I was talking to somebody else about Friday 13th, and like, the Jason hockey mask was, like, from, like, the 60s. And now this movie takes place was made in the mid-80s. So, like, yeah, like the goalie mask are still, like, it's more modern than, like, a Jason hockey mask. Like, they have designs on them and shit now. But,
like, it has, like, more of the shape of their face. Because isn't the Jason one just, like, flat?
For the most part, yeah. It has, like, the nose kind of area. But, yeah.
Well, like, yeah, you could already see, like, in this one how decorated they are, the masks.
Yeah.
It's cool.
Like, it has a cool design.
Yeah.
Like, that's kind of like, like in the movie Heat with Robert De Niro when they rob the armor car, they have kind of this style mask. Like that movie is made about 10 years after this, so it's a little more, even more modern. But yeah, those hockey masks, like the ones in this one, like I'd say this shit's even like the one there hanging on the wall. That's even like more scarier looking than the Jason mask to me.
Dang, like he's really ripping them a new one on there.
Yeah, so basically, like it's after the first period of this, road game, away game. Like basically, like they just got losing because like
Optic circle.
Yeah, it's like they're just kicking the shit out of the Mustangs here. Like they're just like knocking them all down, and like they literally showed you only a couple plays real quick, but like you just get the impression. And like that's another thing too is I don't think a sports movie in this day and age would really like fly where it's like the message was like now they would be like for some reason Rob Lowe has like looks like he's wearing a wig in this like one scene. I was like when I saw that I was like, oh shit, they had to do reshoots or something and now he's gonna be wearing a wig for the rest of the movie. But like no, it was just literally that one shot. It's weird.
I thought he just had a helmet head.
Yeah, but it's like basically the message here is like from because the rest of the movie they're pretty much playing the same team like the playoffs and shit. It's pretty much like the message is like you just got to beat the shit out of these assholes to win. You know what I mean? Whereas a lot of movies they always play it like the other team is unfairly rough and you got to just overcome them with skill. But like not here. Yeah, here we get the big brawl. The bench is clear. I like the coach tells them go.
Well, because weren't the fighting rules like different like back before now? Like,
yeah.
They let them do it more.
Well, I know NHL in general because they started getting the bad rap about the sport not being league friendly. I mean, you got penalized for fighting back then. Don't get me wrong. It's just
he wants to fight.
It's just the penalties weren't as stiff, so that the guy with the fake teeth got him all knocked out. The penalties weren't as stiff, so obviously it happened a lot more than it does now. It was like really the 90s. I remember the NHL in particular, really wanting to like cut down on the fighting, and which I mean, there have been some brutal hockey fights where guys have gotten hurt and shit. I'm sure that probably had,
He put it in his mouth. It would have been super gnarly if.
Yeah.
It would have been super gnarly if they would have showed him crawling to his teeth and then the skater came and like chopped his finger.
Well, I thought it was going to happen because he's crawling across the ice trying to get his teeth. I really thought somebody was going to come and like knee him in the head and like knock him out. But pretty much was he just got his teeth. I thought it was funny they have the orange slices.
Yeah.
I thought that was a thing for like little league kids and
I was
shit.
wondering if that was like for a specific reason.
Yeah.
Oh, Henry.
Yeah. Everybody's got busted noses and shit. So this is when we should say, there's not like a lot of games been going on in the movie, but Rob Lowe, he basically hasn't been playing. Like he got a quick little run where he scored that goal in the first game. He played him, but then he's just like riding the bench. Finally, he's gotten his chance now because in that fight, one of the guys got his nose all busted. He can't really, play as good.
Swayze was like, hell yeah.
Yeah.
When he told him he could play.
Yeah. And then, like, Swayze gave him that look like, yeah, it's on now, motherfuckers.
Yeah, like, earlier, like, on the when they showed the first half of the game, it was like, it was short scene, we saw what we needed to see, and then we went back to more of the character stuff, during the quarter break, it's like... That's just what I mean, like, as an example of, like, they just wanted to focus more on, like, the character rather than, the game situation.
Yeah, I mean, it's like, obviously, what's going on with the team is important, but it really is more the personal journey in this movie than it is, like, just cheesy, high-five team shit.
Yeah. So, no, he's giving him the go-ahead to kick his ass.
Yeah, so basically, Swayze scored a goal, got him back in the game, and the other team coach, I think they're the Bombers or whatever, tells Rocky to go in and take him out, and this is where, like, the main tragedy of the movie, because, like, we were saying before, when I was complaining about PG-13 pussy horror, during that whole scene, when he's talking to Rob Lowe, Swayze is talking about he's been in the minor leagues for 4 years. He's doing good. He wants to, go in the draft.
Headshot.
Yeah. So, like, he really probably had the best prospects on the team.
Slash.
And, Racky pretty much took Swayze into, it's like normally when you watch hockey now, and I don't know if this is just the time period or just cheap minor leagues, instead of having the plexiglass wall, like, there's, like, a big chunk of, like, area where, like, it's just chain link fence and poles. So the guy rings Swayze. I don't think there's any plexiglass in this arena. Like, the fans, like, aren't protected at all.
Dang, he just shot a puck at the ref.
Yeah, like, all those people in the front row, I bet pucks were flying in the stands all the time then.
There's, like, nothing.
Yeah, there's nothing. It's just on the ends was the chain link fence, so yeah. So basically, Racky doesn't get anything. Like, just the Mustangs guy gets in trouble for sticking up for Swayze there. And, like, this is where, like, the ref just penalizes the Mustangs, but not the other team.
And the coach doesn't care. He's insulting the...
Yeah, coach is insulting the shit out of this.
See? Are you blind? Oh, look, it's ice. Oh, red line.
Yeah, telling him he needs to put glasses on his shit. Hannah, the referee, looks like a little elf. Fucker. So we're getting more into the game here. And, like, you could see Swayze, he wants payback on Racky. Yeah. And I was surprised here, like, they set it up, Racky scores a goal, like... I thought he was just going to be a goon. I didn't think he had any actual hockey skill. Thunder Bay, that's who they are, the other team, the Thunder Bay Bombers. And Rob Lowe's team is the Hamilton Mustangs.
See, like, even during the game, like, they just, he threw the puck at him.
Yeah, Racky threw the puck at the coach, like, hey, you should have picked me.
Oh.
Yeah.
Too much head trauma, man. It, like, makes me nervous.
Swayze and Racky fighting over the fucking guardrail there. This is where the obnoxious fans, they dump all the trash on the coach.
And then they don't expect what's about to happen.
Yeah, and the coach just says, fuck it, and he goes in the stand and starts beating them up.
Kick their ass.
Yeah. That's awesome, too. Like, the players are like, oh, look at our coach. He's beating the shit out of the fans.
Enjoy the game. Relax and enjoy the game.
Yeah. I like Swayze's, like, crazy laugh in this movie.
I don't know. And then I like how they're like, here, go away. And then he's like, okay. And then he just runs to go
yeah,
back.
They're like, oh, you're out of here. Like, the whatever security cop, whatever, he takes him, puts him in the hallway. And then he just goes around the other hallway to get back into the game.
I was gonna say, like, they use a lot of the game parts too to progress the story with the characters, not just game story, but character story.
Not just like, oh, we scored these points. Oh.
Yeah. Oh my god.
Yeah, so it's just something bad's gonna happen here.
Ugh.
They actually look like Rob Lowe skating around there too. So Swayze comes and lays the nasty hit on Racky, lays him out. Which, I mean, it was rough, but I mean, it was payback. So it's like, okay, now they're even. Well, Racky does the bullshit. He comes up behind Swayze. Like, everybody's looking the other way because there's a play going on down the other end of the ice. But, like, he basically, like, pretty much ends Swayze's career here. Yeah, Rob Lowe's going down the other end of the ice, scoring the goal. Racky comes up right behind Swayze. It's like sneaky how he does it too.
I know, he's such an asshole.
It's like in slow motion, that's why it's taking so long to happen. But yeah, he lays a hit on him like straight to the head, like forearm to the head.
And then his helmet comes off.
Yeah,
That's really what fucked him up.
Then he uses his stick to trip Swayze. Like, knowing he has no helmet on. So he falls all the way back and hits his head. And, like, it takes a little while, but, like, pretty much all this blood and shit's going to come on the ice. And, they stop the game. And, like, the refs, of course, oh, we didn't see what happened. Oh, we're just idiots.
So gnarly.
Yeah.
It's so weird because it's like how I was telling you, like, I guess it was last weekend already, or I guess it was Thursday because that was the first game I really kind of watched. But, like, it's hard for me to watch football now because it's like just seeing the guys take the hit. So it's like even now watching this movie, I'm like, oh my god, just seeing like the hits and stuff, even though it's like fake and it's in a movie. I'm still like, oh my gosh.
Yeah, just seeing the trauma of it.
Yeah, because I mean, the guys really play and like go through that shit, you know?
Yeah.
Ugh. Crazy.
And Swayze looks terrible here. Like, they cut to him in the hospital. He's got bruises all over his eyes and shit.
Yeah, I wonder why they made him like that.
Well, I think it's just one of those things with, like, the swelling and all the different blood in his brain, like, moving around and shit.
Does look gnarly.
Yeah. But yeah, like, they never really go in the depth, like, exactly what he has. So he just says they put a plate in his head. I mean, I'm assuming that this, you know, this type of head injury, because the trainer guy was saying they don't know, there could be brain damage or not. I mean, even if he ends up, like, being, like, you know, well enough to leave a normal life, like, I'm pretty sure his hockey career is over. Like, they never exactly say it, but...
Yeah, they don't. They don't really address what the situation is.
Yeah. But I think it's just kind of realistic, too, because it's, like, one of those things, a lot of times shit happens and you don't really know long-term at the time what the effect is going to be.
And then here, like, he asks him basically, like, did you get revenge? And he lies to him and tells him yes.
Yeah. Says, did you get that son of a bitch for me? And he says, yeah, you know, to make him feel better. But it's just like, yeah. And then, like, this is really where, like, the movie takes, like, a real... Like, I understand why, like, the way the story wraps up, but it takes, like, a real dramatic turn, because it's, like... You know, part of this movie is, like, not just a sports movie, not just, like, a making it sports movie, but it's, like, you know... The movie really asks you, like, what is the price you're willing to pay for this? You know what I mean?
Yeah. I'd say you as a player and as a fan, because it's like...
Yeah.
I don't know. Like, it makes me kind of think about it, and, like, I mean, like you said, we recently got into hockey, and, like, I kind of watched games, you know, like, recently, and it's just... I see the things that those guys, like... experience, and it's like hard because it's like, do I really need to want to watch this? You know, like, want to watch these guys put themselves through this, but it's like there's something weird about that, like, competitive spirit and watching guys put it all on the line to try and win this game, you know. And it's like, it's such a weird dynamic watching sports.
Well, yeah, too. I mean, I gotta say too, like, you know, for the longest time, you know, like, as fans or whatever, like, we didn't really know the price that, like, the athletes paid. Like, for me, it wasn't until, like, I'd say probably the early 90s, they started doing, like, on 60 Minutes and stuff, they started doing, like, stories about how banged up the old football players were from, like, the 60s and 70s, and, like, really, and I mean, that was even before all the head trauma shit. That was just, like, their knees, their backs, and everything. And, like, I remember they showed this one guy how it took him, like, an hour to get out of bed every morning and shit. And, like, that made you, like, really kind of, like, question whatever, like, you know, okay, like, how come the sports, like, aren't, like, taking better care of them, like, more health care or whatever. But I think, like, I mean, obviously there's always going to be injuries in any contact sport and, like, hockey, but I think that's part of, like, what we were saying before, like, in the 90s. I think hockey saw that coming and, like, you know, like, started dealing with the reality of, like, you know, when you have a meat grinder sport, you know, like how hockey, like how football is, it's kind of like the fans are going to tap out at a certain point or, like, lose their appetite for it. So, like, so I think that's why hockey try to clean things up at the least to, you know, take out, like, all the dirty playing, like, not just the actual fights, but, like, the dirty plays that lead up to fights, you know what I mean? And it's like you can never see anything. There's always going to be a little bit of shit going on. But whereas, like, football was just like, yeah, they're getting hit. Yeah, like, they're all beat up. Yeah, they're where. But, I mean, you got to understand football, like, what was it, 10 years ago? They're like, we don't even think concussions are something that exist.
Was it even 10? It seems like sooner, like, more recent.
Yeah, I mean, but it's just like, you know. So it's like football is just pretty much like turn a blind eye and pretend like it doesn't exist. And, like, I feel like hockey, they know it's a violent sport, so they try, like, not to, like,
condone it.
yeah, just try to, like, at least take some of the edge off,
But oh my gosh, I forgot what I was gonna say.
Yeah, they're just showing the team photo and like pretty much like reaction to like what happened. That's what I was saying. Like this movie asks like, what are the price you're gonna pay? In the case of his older brother, Dean Youngblood's older brother, like he lost his eye, and then like obviously like a lot of the guys lose their teeth, and then like with what happened, with Swayze getting his head all busted open,
Well, I was gonna say in that scene where, like, right when they get back into the locker room and the coach is like, "Suit up, we're going back out," and like, I think really the pivotal scene of the movie is like when Rob Lowe gets up and he's like, "Why?" Like,
Yeah.
so a guy just got his head busted open. Like, why does this even matter right now? Why are we gonna keep going? Like nothing happened.
Yeah.
And it's kind of like, it really, like, because, I mean, Rob Lowe's character is the only one that really, like, expressed any kind of, like, hesitation about moving on, like everything's normal. Like, the other guys kind of stopped and, like, were watching him when he was questioning the coach, but, like, it's not like any of the other guys were like, yeah, I'm with you, like, nobody ever didn't, none of the other guys were, like, standing up with him, so...
Yeah, because the coach was like, I guess because they lost the game, whatever. Coach was just like, double time, let's get back. It's like they literally just got off a bus, after.
And it was really just to have contact drills because he said no pucks. He literally just wanted them to learn how to fight.
Fight and be tougher and whatever.
Yeah.
So he walked off the team because he didn't feel like having an extra practice the second they stepped off the bus after, his best friend getting his head busted open. So here he is back on the farm with his older brother. And then, like, as you can imagine in this type of film, whenever the hero walks away or quits or whatever. I have to say, though, like, as grimy as that boarding house was, it's pretty much the same type of condition that Rob Lowe has always lived in.
It's got that, like, mildewy wall up there.
Yeah. Like, I mean, wouldn't you ever paint this shit? Like... I always noticed, too, like, even, like, old hotels and movies, like, would always be looking like this. I was like, why did people always just live in such filth back then? Like,
because they just don't have enough money to do anything.
But I feel like those grimy walls were just, like, more normal back then. Like, it didn't bother people or something, you know what I mean?
Yeah. I think they were just used to it because those were the conditions they were in.
Yeah. So here's brother. I really like this scene, too. His brother's just kind of like mocking him or ripping him for, giving up. And he say, hey, my friend's like half dead, And his brother's like, like, hey, I busted my ass to help you, whatever. So you could go do your dream, come back with your, because he actually doesn't want his brother. Like I said, this is like the tough love coming into play. Like he's ripping him a new asshole. But it's not even because, like, the brother is, like, an asshole himself. It's because he's, like, he realizes his kid brother has to toughen up if he's going to make it in hockey. You know what I mean?
Well, and he's lost the opportunity because he lost his eye.
Yeah.
Like, if he could, he would, like he just said, like, I begged them to let me play even with one eye. Like, he just wants to be out there. He doesn't want his brother to lose that opportunity.
Yeah.
Just over some feelings and emotions.
Yeah.
Junior hockey, that's what they're calling it.
Yeah, it's called junior hockey. He says Rocky only gets suspended one game at the most. And it's actually seen as a positive with the pros. He's so tough or whatever. And he says, yeah, you think the coach is a real prick, huh? But he's actually the best coach in the league. He knows what it takes to become a pro. So, like, it's kind of interesting because, like, I'd say in most movies where, like, the player has, like, a conflict with the coach or whatever, they pretty much, I mean, I'd say aside from maybe, like, all the right moves, like, they always kind of play it like the coach actually really is just a prick, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
They always treat him like the bad guy or whatever.
His brother's just trying to teach him, like, you don't quit. Like, that's basically his main point, is that when you've been working so hard for something, you don't just quit.
Yeah. Knocks all his trophies down. But I gotta say though, like prick ass coaches, like they do take the fun out of sports. Like it's bad enough like in order to play the game you love, you have to. Oh yeah, this is where he's trying to catch this chicken, man. This chicken was not having it. But in order to play the game you love, you gotta bust your ass and do some shit. And then it's like you always got these fuckers screaming at you all the time. This is what I can never stand about sports at school. Fuckers calling you names and shit. Yeah, they're trying to put up a barbed wire fence. They show all his farm shit goes wrong. Oh, I didn't catch it the first time, but how the he's on the roof and he puts the hammer down. Yeah. Like there totally was a string pulling the hammer down. Oh, was there? Yeah, like I saw it a little bit, and then in the wide shot I saw it pulling it off the roof.
That's funny.
Because I was like it makes sense. Like there's a roof is slope that you just put a hammer there, it'll fall down, but it's getting hay dumped on it. This is a great shot here. Like I don't know if it was in the trailer, but it should have been. Such a beautifully lit kind of dust shot of him riding tractor and shit.
Now they're reading the next game.
Yeah, the way the playoff series is going. It's his team, the Mustangs, have been getting beat up the whole time. Unable to stage an offensive threat without Youngblood and Sutton. Yeah, and so out of all that shit, they did suspend somebody. It was only like the guy on the Mustangs. Sucks. He says there's nothing about Racky in here. So yeah, so it's kind of interesting that like there'd even be like a thought or whatever that he'd still be engaged with like. Following what the team is doing or whatever. Because in real life, there'd be no way in hell they would ever let you back on the team. You know what I mean?
Yeah, it was weird how he was like, I'm back.
Yeah.
When he walks back. When he goes back.
Well, yeah, he has to get... And you gotta think, like what's the longest period of time all this could have happened? Like, when he was away from the team or whatever, Yeah. Which, to be fair, he did quit the team. It wasn't like they kicked him out, but still... When he does show up and he's back, it's pretty much they're in dire straits anyway.
He's so, like, puny.
Yeah, he is. So his brother, got an old punching bag out in the barn and shit. They got it, whatever. But yeah, so I think what I was saying earlier, I kind of remember seeing this movie, on, over-the-air TV or something. Maybe once when I was a kid on a Sunday afternoon, but I never really I never saw this movie on HBO. I don't really even remember seeing it in the video store. I'm sure it was there, but I just never came across it. I kind of just saw this the era when Netflix, DVD, whatever was big in the early 2000s when I first got a Netflix account, and I think I had picked up that movie Bad Influence with James Spader and Rob Lowe because I wanted to see James Spader. And I was like, oh, Rob Lowe's really cool in that movie. And I kind of forgot how good Rob Lowe was. So I remember renting the DVD of this from Netflix and really liked it. Rob Lowe's good in it. And, I don't know. I hate to say this, but maybe the first 10 years of Rob Lowe's career was really good, pretty solid. He did a lot of cool movies, The Outsiders and Class and, this and Bad Influence and a couple others. But he was just one of those guys, I don't know if it was that weird scandal or what. I mean, obviously St. Elmo's Fire and About Last Night and all that. But I don't know if it was that weird scandal he was in, which really wasn't his fault, but his career just went really kind of shitty for a long time. He was in direct-to-video movies. He kind of had a little bit of bounce back when he did The Stand in the early 90s, mid-90s, whenever that was. But yeah, he just never really recovered. So I mean, I think in a weird way, even though kind of young sports movie, super trained. This is pretty much his Rocky training montage here. But I thought this was interesting. The coffee can with the semen in it. He's rolling up on that rope. But no, like I think this kind of is like one of his best kind of like signature roles. You know what I mean? Even though it's kind of just like a little minor sports movie or whatever. Oh, the dad sees that they're training and fighting.
Yeah, one thing that, like, in rewatching it again and how much time they spent on him doing all this stuff, like, I feel like it didn't really pay off because, like, when the scene finally comes where he's supposed to, like, do the fighting or whatever, like, he doesn't really. Like, it kind of just, I don't know.
They kind of just have, like, a boxing match on the ice. They don't really do, like, yeah.
Well, it wasn't even that. It was just like well, I guess we'll get to it then, but no, here's a dad coming up on the ice.
So, yeah, so when you watch the movie for the first time and you don't know, like, you just think the dad,
like look, he's so cool looking.
Yeah. Because he's legit, man. He's a legit hockey player, this guy. So, like, this is where you see him. He's even put his jersey on to come out there. Mm-hmm. And, this was an interesting scene because he's like, yeah, you know, if you're going to go back, I want to make sure you're ready. And, you know, like, they know that Rob Lowe can play hockey. The problem is he can't fight that good. Mm-hmm. So his dad's basically like, oh, you know, come on, like let's fight, whatever. And he gets all weirdly serious about it. And then he starts grabbing him. And then like, he does that thing where, like, he kind of, like, pushes his face or whatever. So, like, yeah, so, like, he has to, like, wrestle and fight his dad and shit.
But, like, he's telling him, like, what to do.
Yeah, pull the jersey over his head. I always thought that always happened by accident, that they pulled the jersey over the head, but, like, I guess they do that on purpose.
Yeah.
So they can blind them and just start punching them in the face. Like you're younger than me, so I mean, like, growing up, I mean, by the time you were like a teenager, probably Rob Lowe probably wasn't even like around and shit at all anymore, was he?
Not really. Like, it's funny because I'm real familiar with Emilio Estevez. I'm real familiar with Charlie Sheen, but yeah, like Rob Lowe, like, I don't know, like, I feel like I never really seen anything with him in it.
Yeah.
It's funny. He's strong for a little guy.
Yeah. And you can see, like, the dad's jersey gets pulled up. He's still in good shape.
Yeah.
He's still got them, like, back and shoulder muscles and shit.
Yeah, I was super impressed when I was like, dang, that dude's fit.
Yeah. Yeah, it's just weird, Rob Lowe's career. I mean, the guy's had a 30-plus year career. I mean, his career is better than 99.9% of people who ever acted, but it's just one of those things where I always wish he could have, you know, had a few good movies in his repertoire.
So now he's asking, like, his dad, you know, why didn't you help me before? He's saying he just didn't want him to get hurt. He didn't even want him to play hockey.
Yeah.
But it's like, that ended up being the opposite, because, like, now he doesn't know how to defend himself on the ice.
Right. And then plus, obviously, you know, like, we don't know how long ago it was that the brother was playing in the minor leagues or whatever, so, like, it was probably when he was, like, really in high school. His brother was probably gone for most of it and couldn't teach him.
Yeah.
So it was like, yeah.
Wasn't Rob Lowe on a TV show? Like, one of those, like...
He's been in a ton.
Law ones or something?
Yeah, I mean, he's been in a ton.
Or a presidential one.
Yeah, West Wing.
Yeah.
I think that was kind of like his big, like, comeback, whatever.
That is literally the only thing I know of in terms of his later career that he's been in. Like, I don't know anything else.
Yeah, I mean, he was, like, literally a movie star at one point, you know what I mean? It's like... But it's always hard to maintain that career momentum. It's not saying it's easy, but it's one thing when they're pushing you as the young star and you're doing these, like, young people roles. It's another to transition into, you know, have a lot of hits as, like, an adult actor. So yeah, he shows back up at the arena. Like, he shows up, like, it seems like literally like 20 minutes before the game or whatever. Yeah. And he just knocks on the locker room door. He's got to wait for the coach to come. I actually really like this scene because, like I said, I mean, you really are stretching the boundaries of reality here with having a guy who's been off the team for a week or whatever it's been just show up and want to play in a game. But you know, I like the way, you know, the coach is pretty much just treating like a hard ass, like he's not going to let him play. Says, yeah, you walked off the team, you're through. and then you just hear somebody in the locker room say, "Let him in," and it's Swayze, and his head's all bandaged up and shit.
He was ready to fight him.
Yeah, he's the coach. He's like, yeah, if I get by you, will you let me play? Which, I mean, the guy is older, but he's a pretty good-sized guy. Mm-hmm. I was kind of hoping they would have, like, this wrestling match here in the hall.
I wanted to see that, too.
Yeah. But like I said, like, the movie's, like, a little weird, whatever. Is, like, he pretty much broke up with the daughter, too. Because, like, they had that argument about hockey and hockey players and shit. And, like, he hasn't talked to her since then, you know what I mean?
But they didn't really argue, because he was, like, they ended the conversation with him saying, like, all I ever wanted to do was play hockey, and, like, she felt sad for him and hugged him and kissed him or whatever. Yeah. And then, he just disappeared.
Everybody just split on her. He wasn't, like, all hanging around this dumpy tower.
Poor Patrick.
Yeah, his head's all bandaged up. He looks all pale and sickly.
It's so funny, because, like, earlier in the movie, he looks all young, and, like, in this scene, all of a sudden, he looks, like, super old.
Yeah, he looks like he did in, like, Ghost and shit. Which, that was another thing, too, is, like, I remember when, like, Swayze was in a bunch of movies, and, like, but he never really felt like he was, like, I mean, he was, like, an actor, but as big as even Dirty Dancing was, and that took him to a whole nother, like, stratosphere or whatever, because I started seeing him in, like, The Outsiders, Red Dawn, all these movies. It seemed like he wasn't, like, an A-list, because Dirty Dancing was also, like, this weird phenomenon where it was just as, like, the fandom was just as much about the dancing as it was, like, who was in the movie, you know what I mean? Yeah. Like, if anything, even though he was, like, the stud of the movie, it was more like people were all obsessed with Jennifer Grey, you know?
The guy said, "I'm not crying, you're crying."
Yeah. Because he hugged Patrick Swayze. But, like, yeah, like, to me, Swayze didn't feel like a real, big movie star until he did Ghost. And then that movie was like, oh, my God, fucking Unchained Melody, fucking 40-year-old song was on the radio for a year straight because of Ghost.
See, like, even in that part, like, after we just watched him learn how to fight, like, for 20 minutes, and then, like, now Patrick Swayze's like, just forget about Rocky, just win the game. Like, now they're already like, forget the fighting. It's just like, what?
Well, the game starts... I want
to see some fighting.
Game starts and Rocky's being a fucker already, poking somebody with a stick.
Bam.
But yeah, like, cause Swayze's just being like, you know, don't get involved in that shit. Like, you know, let's actually win the game. Like, and like, I couldn't tell if like this was supposed to be a playoff series or if this was supposed to be like the finals for that championship.
And here his dad and his brother are at the game. It's pretty much for the first time.
Yeah. Which I always thought was funny that like he was like surprised his brother and dad came, but I was like, well, didn't they give you a ride there? Like, yeah. So also too, like the coach let him back on the game. I mean, back on the team to play in this game, but he's like actually not playing. He's just sitting on the bench.
Well, but his brother took him the first time, and he asked him if he wanted to come in, and he said no. So that's why, when he saw them come in now that's why he was happy to see them.
Yeah. So Racky scored a goal. Fucking Racky's on his way to the pros now. He's like the awesome player on the team. No. But yeah. So it's basically they're getting their ass handed to them. And
he's trying to punish him for leaving, but they actually need him.
Yeah, I mean that was the thing because like you know like the newspaper said with Swayze gone and him gone, like the team has like no offense. You know what I mean?
I wonder what that was about when like, he was about to go out without his helmet, and they're like, "Oh, you forgot your helmet." It's like that was weird.
Like, I think it was just supposed to be like he was so like adrenaline pumping, like, you know, on the edge of his seat to get in the game that he just forgot. Because it
kind of seemed like they were focusing on, like, the head injury stuff.
Yeah.
Like, to make sure, like, oh, you better put this shit on.
Yeah, because Racky will get you if you start scoring. And then that was the guy who got punished for, like, how he tried to get some payback on Racky and it didn't work out.
Oh, here he comes.
Yeah, Rocky's coming. He's like, I'm going to end this. Just end everybody's career. That's how we'll win the championship.
Ugh.
But I have to say, like, it's pretty good. Because, like, when you first see the movie, like, the opening scene, you just think, oh, that's the way hockey is. Yeah. Of course, Rocky, like, kind of, like, high-sticked him in the mouth, knocked out one of his teeth. So, Youngblood is now on his way to becoming a true hockey player with a missing teeth. Really more a tooth, like, chipped in half, but it's, it's all bloody. He's going to play the rest of the game with a big blood stain on his chest.
A missing tooth.
Yeah. You see his dad getting worried. This is what he always worried about.
Oh my god.
Yeah, the opposing coach is an asshole. He's all yawning and shit. It's like the guy just got a tooth knocked out of his mouth. Like, it's going to take some time. Get up off the ice.
Going through these long ass tunnels.
Yeah. The labyrinth behind underneath the Mustang Stadium. It hasn't been painted in 100 years.
Like, what is he turning the radio on for?
Yeah.
I forgot he was trying to listen to the game.
Yeah, listening to the game on the radio as they look at Youngblood's tooth. But yeah, it's just like pretty much at this point, it's like if they were allowed over there, maybe playing another team that wasn't so dirty, I think they could probably win.
Yeah.
But it's just literally all the violence. It's like taking all their scores out. There's only one period left now.
Yeah.
And like this is like, I guess it's the elimination game either way or whatever. But
oh, see, look, they're showing the different goalie.
Oh yeah.
That's funny.
Oh yeah, the guy with all the pads on it.
Yeah.
It is a different guy. I get. It's like, is Keanu just not there anymore or what?
They just got rid of him in the middle of the shoot.
Yeah, in the middle of the movie, they're like, go home, kid. Or maybe he just became the backup or whatever.
It's weird. But he's like not even part of the group right there.
Yeah, that's what I was saying. Like, you just never see him again.
God, that fucker's just going through, like, bowling over everybody.
Yeah, Rocky just knocking everybody over.
The brother's like, why doesn't he hit him back?
What about Swayze? What do you remember him from when you were a kid?
As a kid?
Yeah.
Probably really just Ghost.
Because, I mean, I think Ghost like was around 90, and I think he passed away like the early 2000s. Maybe like 02, 03. Yeah, like this two of the fat fans like all yelling shit about Youngblood, and his brother stands up and tells the fat ass to sit down.
Really just like, yeah, Ghost and the Outsiders later on. Like,
Yeah.
he wasn't really like, I know Dirty Dancing was a big thing, but that was like before me, like, or for me anyways.
Yeah, I mean, you were like
I didn't really
5 years old when
have
it came
any
out.
reason to watch that.
Yeah. I still remember going to see Dirty Dancing. Like, it was like one of those movies, like it's not like we wanted to see it, but it was like one of those ones where it just was like out for like 9 months, so you eventually ran out of other stuff to see. You know what I mean? Yeah. I thought it was a pretty good movie. Yeah, his girlfriend kissed the old man. I remember you and me a couple years ago, we tried to see Dirty Dancing. Remember that?
What happened?
Remember it was like, that was the one that was like all like, or no, that was Grease that was sold out.
Yeah.
But I think we got tickets to Dirty Dancing, but like we couldn't find any seats when we got in there. Because it's how they used to do all those old classic movies, and then like they would always sell out, and then like people would sneak in and shit. I think when we went in, we couldn't find any, like we couldn't find like 2 seats together. It was like all these like, moms that brought their daughters to see it for the first time and shit.
Yeah.
Because I remember we walked in and it was just like jam-packed. We were just like looking for seats for a second. We're just like, let's screw this. Let's just go watch something else.
I don't really remember that. I do remember the Grease thing. It was the Grease sing-along. And like...
Oh, was it the single?
I mean, I don't know if it's the same time that you were talking about, but what I do remember the Grease sing-along experience where we tried to go and it was like already sold out. And I think even the next one was like already halfway sold out or something like that. Or I don't know. There was only 2 show times because they only showed those 2 times a day, and like there was no other option for us to go after that one. So yeah, we were
I think it was, maybe it was another movie. I think it was Grease where like you had. I don't even know why I'm talking about it. It's not like it's fascinating for anybody to listen to. But I just remember there was one time where like we went up to the ticket booth because it was like I went up to. I think you had a ticket and I was like trying to buy one. They're like, oh, it's sold out, and then we had to get a refund for yours because it wasn't like like
that sounds like something that happened several times.
Yeah, but it wasn't like you were gonna stay and watch it by yourself. And I remember like just the people at the booth were like going nuts. Like there was a guy, like a grown man, like even older than me, that was like, what? I gotta get it, but I have to get. Like he was like telling the guy, I gotta get it. Like I gotta see Grease. So I'm like this guy's like 40 years old and he's dying to see Grease so bad. I'm just like, what do you understand? There's no seats left in the theater, asshole. And he's like, what if somebody... Like, he was just like, what if somebody does this and a seat opens up? I was just like, well, you think you're going to go find a place to sit in there? Like, it was so bizarre. Like, the guy was, like, panicked at this ticket booth. I just remember that, standing there being like, whoa, what a fucker.
This freaking goalie was so awesome. Like, the way he was doing the splits and, like...
I mean, his mask is like a skeleton, kind of.
And then how he was just, like, being so, like, antsy, like, moving his legs and stuff. Like, he's scary looking.
Yeah, so the games, because, like, the Thunder Bay, whatever, Bombers, like, all they do is just beat the shit out of everybody.
Look at that old Apple ad.
I know, it's cool.
Chrysler.
I like how the arenas all had, like, the old-timey pictures of the Queen in them, too. Yeah. But, yeah, so the game comes down to Youngblood doing a penalty shot, and he kind of does... shootout. He kind of does, like, a Mighty Ducks type trip thing where he basically, like, takes the puck, and, he acts like he's going to hit it, but then he bounces it, like, between his legs, then he finally hits it again to trick the guy off balance.
Barely went in.
Yeah. Well, they even show it, like, it barely gets across the little mark there. Yeah.
How'd they do that?
It probably took 1 million takes and shit. So, yeah, everybody goes nuts. Only 3 seconds left in the game. Yeah, they take the lead. So it's pretty good. Like, they don't do that whole, like, 10-minute build-up to it.
Yeah. And it's not necessarily. Like, I still felt tension when I watched it. I still understood, like, that the game was on the line. Like, it's like, you don't need a big drawn-out thing when you do it right.
Like, they did do a little bit of slow-mo so you could watch the puck, because if they did it in real time, it'd be hard to follow what he was doing with his feet and the puck. Like, I get that, but I just hate, like, basketball, football ones where, like, everybody's, like, running in super slow motion, and, like, even the sound is, like, whoa. Like, I hate this shit.
So he wants to take him out, and, like, Rob Lowe's like, nope, I'm not coming out.
Yeah, he wants to take him out just because he doesn't want Racky to beat his ass, but he's like, no. Because there's like one, after you score or whatever, then you got to face off for the goal. So he's got to face off against Racky. Because he knows Racky's going to try to get him or whatever.
That referee.
Because like they pretty much won the game now. It's just literally 3 seconds left. You know what I mean? So it's like he's just trying to get him out there in one piece. But Rob Lowe's like, no, like the whole reason I came back was to fight Racky.
It's funny how the coach looks up at the daughter.
Yeah. So he gets.
He didn't try anything. Oh, there you go.
Here it comes. Yeah, he got like.
Okay, so this is what I was talking about. So we got that big fighting montage that he was learning how to do all this shit, and they're starting to like do their fight.
Well, first they fight with the sticks, like they got lightsabers or something. It's kind of cool.
The coach's like, I gotta see this.
Coach is like getting up on the chair, like I gotta see this shit. Like it's pretty cool how they're like hitting the sticks and shit. I would think at this point too that like the rest of the team would be like fighting each other too. Like,
well, they are kind of like grabbing at each other.
Yeah, like the one guy that was suspended for this game, he just came out on the ice in his street clothes and shit. Rob Lowe, there's a sticker. Yeah,
okay.
Throw the gloves
So the
off.
fight scene's gonna happen after all that stuff that he learned. He just gets hit over and over again, and he never gets any shots in.
Well, I mean, Racky's still bad. But I do like how they do the thing you see in hockey fights where they circle each other.
See, like, he hits
with their
him, he
dukes up.
grabs him. Like, oh, he gets a hit in.
Yeah. So he hits Racky once, and then they just kind of grab each other, and then Racky starts punching him.
Ugh.
It's funny though that like Racky thinks like he's like I don't know like he's such a dick the way he acts like he acts like it's like okay what he's doing. Now Lo gets him, pulls his jersey off.
All right, it happened way different than what I remembered.
Yeah,
Get him good. All I remembered was just him getting hit over and over again. I was like, what's going on here?
Well, like, Racky seemed like kind of like the bully who, like, he knows how to win the fight by starting it, but, like, not if it goes on longer, you know what I mean?
Let me add him.
So, yeah, so, like, you think that's the end of it, but, Racky wants more and shit.
Oof.
And he takes a swing and miss, and then you get the slow-mo punch-out shot. Racky hitting the floor. Now, Racky obviously falls on his shoulder. Like, I would have loved it if he fell backwards and busted his head open the way Swayze did. But instead, his teeth was knocked out. I like how proud the brother is. Like,
okay, yeah. That was totally different from what I remember.
Yeah. Like, what did you think happened that he didn't really, like, beat him up?
Yeah, like, for some reason, I just didn't remember that Rob got any shots in. Like, I don't know. Like, I just remember that the other guy that Racky was just, like, punching him.
So, yeah, so the movie's, like, almost over now.
And the girlfriend's mad because he fought and she didn't want him to be a goon.
Yeah. But, I mean, come on, you gotta get payback. I mean, to be fair, it's not like he was, like, in every game he was trying to fight somebody just to fight him. There was one guy, you know what I mean, who had it coming.
She just didn't want him to be like that at all.
There's a good old Tim Horton Donuts ad back there.
Saw that.
I have to say, like, I really like the look of this movie. Like, the scenes where there's, like, a lot of light and the daylight and stuff are, like, pretty. But I like a lot of the indoor scenes, like, how they're kind of, like grainy and they kind of look like that, like, sports documentary footage.
I was going to say, too, a lot of the times when they were skating on the ice, like, how I was saying earlier in the movie, how the ice looked so weird. Like, it looked like they barely were, like, sliding on the ice, too, like, a lot of the time.
It might have been just, like, they had to, like, go slower just so the camera could pick them up, you know what I mean? Because, you know, how, like, stuff's, like, too fast, it would just be, like, a blur.
He's got fans.
Yeah, so, like, it's just kind of, like, it's kind of weird the way it ends. Is like, he goes from, like, being on everybody's shoulders, they pick him up, to then there's, like, just a kind of, like, a little dissolve that he's holding his Mustang's jacket now, which he never had before, so he's got his own varsity jacket, just like all the other guys on team wears. He's just kind of, like, he's not celebrating with anybody, he's just hanging out in the empty arena by himself. And then some little kids come and want his autograph, which I thought was, like, a cool touch. Like,
it was funny, though. Like, can we get your autograph? He's like, oh, do you have a pen? No.
Yeah.
And then the one kid's like, oh, I got it. It was just so funny.
Yeah.
And then I liked how he was like, how many goals did you take? And he's like, 0. He's like, 0? Oh, because I'm a goalie.
Yeah.
That was funny.
That was funny. But, like, I don't know, like that was, like, the end part, because, like, you really don't know, like, how far his character is going to go. Like, they never say, oh, he made it to the pros or whatever.
Yeah.
Like, you never know, but, like, I like that little moment of, like, even if this is, like, his only hockey glory, like, this one night, everything went his way, these little kids want his autograph. I like it. Yeah, then the girlfriend shows...
She's so grossed out.
Yeah, his face is all bruised up. It's like, well, you saw him fight, his tooth is all chipped.
His bum tooth.
That's another thing is, like, guy busted your tooth for no reason on purpose. Fuck him up.
Yeah.
Like, you gotta fight in hockey when somebody's doing that kind of shit.
Oh, no, don't do it.
Oh, kiss him. He's like, oh, my mouth, oh. Which, like, it's funny, though, is, like, on some shots, you can tell they just blacked out his tooth with makeup. Yeah. But there's other shots where the lighting is right and it looks like it's actually gone. And you're like, oh, it looks so nasty. Where's the chip? So, yeah.
It looks nasty to me when you can see that goop on it.
Yeah. So, they can't kiss, but they just walk off the ice and all the lights go out.
The most unsatisfying love story ending ever. They can't even kiss.
Yeah, because
if you were watching this movie for the love story, don't watch this movie.
Yeah, the coach, his real name was Ed Lauder. I thought that was that guy's name. That guy was in a million things back then. But yeah, it's like, Heaver. That was Keanu Reeves' character, Heaver. But I was just thinking, like, that's kind of what I like about this movie. I mean, I'll be honest, I just like it just because Rob Lowe, Patrick Swayze are in it. Mm-hmm. But, like, it's kind of like you come to the end of the movie and it's just kind of like, being a sports movie, whatever, it's just kind of like, oh, what did we learn? And it's like, at the end of this movie, you're like, oh, not that much, really.
I just learned that you should fight.
Yeah, like that's what I like about it is, it's like, even the love story, even though it's kind of just, like, barely there or whatever, because, like, the second half of the movie, it's not even really, like, in the forefront or whatever. But it's kind of just, like, at the end, yeah, he wins the championship game or whatever, or the playoff game, whatever it was. And it's just kind of like, it just really is like a personal revenge tale to fuck that guy up.
Yeah, because it's like, normally there'd be the situation of, like, whether you're gonna do, like, how you're gonna handle the like, problem of the movie. Are you gonna do it the dirty way, or are you gonna do it the clean way? And, like, or the, heroic way.
Yeah.
And in this one, it was just, like, there was no clean way or heroic way. Yeah, honorable way. It was just, this is what I gotta do, and I'm gonna do it.
Just punch this asshole, bust his tooth out.
Like, there was no, like, good or bad way to do anything. It was like, this is just how it's done, so this is what's gonna happen.
Yeah. I like it, though, because, it's an enjoyable movie. Like, even when we rewatched it, that was the first time I had watched it in several years. And, yeah, also, too, the guy that plays Dad, he was the hockey consultant on the movie. I think that's how he originally kind of got the job. But, yeah, it's just one of those movies. To me, it's like I said, like, a lot of sports movies can be, like, whatever. But, there's so much more going on other than the sports shit in this movie. That it's kind of enjoyable just on a, like young person's journey type of a story or whatever. But yeah, like it is actually even better than I remember it. Like, I just wanted to see it again because of the cast, but I liked it. Like, it took a lot of little twists and turns that are, you don't normally get in one of these sports types of movies. So I enjoyed it. Like before, like we popped this in the other night. Like, had you heard about this like movie at all? Never.
And then even when you were talking to me about it, I was like, okay, because like I was telling you like when you said it was about a minor league hockey team, I was like, okay, like this is gonna be boring. Like I was just like, not that I was going into it expecting it to be terrible, because I never really do, because I never really know what to expect with these movies. But yeah, like I wasn't really like. I really never know what the movies are going to be like that you have me watch, so.
Yeah.
It's always, like, new, and it just, in the end, I end up realizing how much more of a fuller experience filmmaking was back in the day.
Yeah.
I never can help but compare it to, like, the experience now of watching a movie and just seeing the differences of my level of satisfaction of watching movies, like older movies versus watching movies from today. I'm very easily, like, easy to move in terms of my emotions. Like, I can get, like, super sad or be super happy, based on what's going on in a movie. So, like, when I watch movies now, it's not as common to move me as hard or strongly anymore, as opposed to like when we watch older movies. Like, I tend to emote more, I tend to feel more, and I think it's just because of the better writing and the better filmmaking. Just the way it's made. And like I was saying too, like in the 90 minutes of movies now, like you said, this one's almost 2 hours, but so much happens in older movies within the time span of the movie, whereas like newer movies, like, they waste a lot of the time of the movie, so you kind of get, like, bored, so to speak. Like, not bored because, like, it's boring, but just, like, it takes too long to, like, get to the point that they're trying to make now, and it's kind of, like, it's hard to stay engaged with something like that, so.
I feel like a lot of newer movies, like, they're just kind of stretching for time.
Yeah.
Whereas, like, these older movies are more, like, they just crammed more into them.
But that's the thing that's funny, though. It's like, why, like, who told you that this movie had to be 2 hours and 30 minutes? Like, why didn't you just make the movie 2 hours and not have to stretch time, you know? Like, I don't know. Like, I don't understand. I don't know. Like, I don't get how modern filmmaking is now. It's like, they're not really in it to make a good movie, it seems, a lot of the time. I'm not saying it's every single movie ever made, because that's really untrue. There are a lot of good movies out now, but it just seems like the method of filmmaking now is really like what's going to draw in the audiences and not so much what's going to be a good story, you know? So
yeah.
And that you come out with completely different products when you take those two approaches, so.
Well, I also think, too, there's something to be said for, like, because, like you said, like this movie's, like, an hour, 50 minutes. It's almost 2 hours. Like, it's one of those things where I think, like, now, like, the approach would be more like, oh, like, you know, this movie would be a lot better if it was 90 minutes, so, like, we could easily cut out the love interest.
Yeah.
Which, like, you know, like, let's be honest, a lot of these older movies, the love interest is just kind of thrown in, whereas I feel like this movie, like, I'm not going to lie and say it's the greatest love story ever told in this movie. It's just kind of, like, representative of, like, you know, relationships people have when they're younger or whatever. But at the same time, like, if you were to, like, go from this movie being an hour, 50 minutes, cut out all the love scenes just to get it down to 90 minutes, which is, like, what they do now. Yeah. Because, like, if you watch any sort of Blu-ray now and you look at the deleted scenes, like, a lot of times you'll realize somebody that was barely in the movie had a much bigger, like, side story.
Yeah.
And I kind of feel like that's, like, kind of... The romance is kind of like a side story in this, because this is a movie about a hockey player's journey. Yeah. So, like, yeah, you could cut her out and it'd be 90 minutes, but there is something to be said for that fuller experience, because then, you know, without the love story, then you just be watching a lot of hockey scenes in a row, you know what I mean?
And really, like, the only purpose of her kind of being in it, instead of her parts being cut out, was for Rob Lowe's character, to have somebody to get his feelings out to in terms of what was happening with Sutton, you know, like, that scene that they had afterwards where, like, he was expressing to her, like, this is all I've ever wanted to do in my life, because it's like, who else was he going to talk to about that? Like, he wasn't really going to talk to the coach, because the coach wasn't going to care about that, you know, like, he needed to talk to either another player, which he wasn't really close to any of the other players, as close as he was to Sutton, and only Sutton understands his you know, experience. So it's like, who else was he going to talk to? The girl, you know? So it's like, and of course she was going to be understanding because she's, you know, female and she's more in touch with the feelings of it too. Like, he doesn't have to be a tough guy with her.
Right.
And that's, as much as, like, athletes need to be tough guys, like, on the court, on the field, on the ice, they always need to have somebody, one person, that they can have their sensitive feelings with, you know? And it's like, and that's the only person that will see that side of them. That's the only person, most of the time. Sometimes they may have another, you know, player on the team that they also kind of talk like that with, but usually it's like an athlete won't really emote, like, sensitive feelings. So it's like, in a dramatic film, you know, like, he needed somebody that he needed to bounce his feelings off of, you know, to express the hurt he was feeling, you know, about what had happened. So I would say that was really kind of her only purpose, you know, like.
I think also, too, being the coach's daughter, like, she, you know, it's because it's a movie about a lot of different people having their own opinions about the game or whatever, like the dad, the brother, him, the coach. It's like,
daughter.
like, you know, like, I think it was good to have, like, another kind of voice in there too.
Well, and her being in there, it did affect parts of the game, because the coach was keeping him out because he was seeing the daughter.
Yeah.
So it did affect also the game, like, time on the ice. So yeah, but I don't know, I end up generally liking. I don't think there's ever been a movie that you've shown me that I've ever been like, oh, I never want to watch this movie in my life. You know, like, in terms of the older ones.
Yeah.
So
maybe it's kind of newer, but maybe Gentlemen Broncos.
I was thinking of that, but that's why I said older.
Yeah.
That's you know, that's a modern kind of style.
Yeah, I mean, you're definitely, I mean, you're definitely not a 16-year-old who only watches Netflix or whatever. But like sometimes when I show you these older movies, because like a big part of like why I'll go back and watch older movies, especially ones that like I'm not really familiar with, is like sometimes you would just want to revisit things you watched as a kid. For nostalgia or whatever, but sometimes like I'll just watch these older movies I haven't seen just because the actors like I mean, obviously this is a sad thing, but you're never going to see Patrick Swayze in a movie again.
Yeah.
So go watch his old stuff. Yeah. Rob Lowe. I mean, you might see. Well, actually, you won't see Rob Lowe in a movie anymore. He'll be on a million TV. He has a new TV show like every TV season, and they never stay on. But so it's just like go back and watch these movies and stuff. But I always wonder, like, especially, like, for you, because you're coming in, like, completely blind to it, like, I just always wonder, like, will the older style, like, bore you, because even me, like, sometimes I watch older movies, like, even for, like, from just slightly ahead, before my time, like, stuff from the 60s and 70s, like, a lot of times I like the movies, but, like, you really have to lock yourself down into, like, watching a movie that goes along at a snail's pace, you know what I mean? And like, and also too, like a lot of older movies sometimes are kind of just more subtle. So like, like sometimes I wonder, like, will there be enough to like hold your attention or whatever, or like, and then there's that thing too where like people like, in general now, like they say 80s movies are so over the top and they're so cheesy, which I don't really find them that way. I just find, to me, that's just how movies are. Like I don't expect movies to be like real life, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I'm always curious, like, what you'll think of these older ones when we watch them and stuff. Like, also it's kind of like similar with All the Right Moves, because I love All the Right Moves, and I was just kind of like, will this actually even interest you at all? You know what I mean?
Well, I gotta say, with like a sports movie, like, even if I'm not generally like interested in it before we started or whatever, like, once I start watching it, I'm just like a natural cheerleader, like, because I literally was a cheerleader in high school. And I mean, I did that for a reason, because I just like being supportive of like athletes, like even now it's like at the one point when like all those sports were going on at the same time, like how many teams was it that I was following?
I know,
I was
playing games.
Yeah, that was like I was DVRing like 10 or 15 teams at a time whenever they played, whenever it was on, because it was like I just naturally want to see athletes doing well, and it's like, so when it comes to watching a movie about that, like, it comes down to good storytelling. If you, like, start off a movie and you, like, introduce the characters well and you make me care about them, which isn't really hard either, unless it's, like, a really bad movie for some reason.
Yeah.
Like, I'll get into it, like... I do admit, like, I am kind of biased to, like, how older films look sometimes. Like, it's kind of like how I talked to you about how the difference between watching, like, Star Wars and, like, the older episodes versus watching the newer episodes, or watching the second half versus watching the first half. And it's not that I'm bored with episodes 4 through 6. It just looks so different from 1 to 3 that it's like, it's kind of a little too dated for me to where I can't fully immerse myself in it the way I do with episodes 1 to 3.
Yeah.
So it's like, I do kind of have a bias of like, oh, like, it looks old, but it's not in a way where I'm like, I don't want to waste my time with it. Like, I'll still watch it. It's not like I hate it or anything, and I'm not like snobby about it. Like, that doesn't mean it's bad. It's just my preference of it visually that's really all it is. It's just visually. It's not even with the story, because I love all of the episodes of Star Wars, but I do prefer the visuals of 1 to 3 over 4 to 6.
Not all of them.
Well, yes, the only ones are 1 through 6.
Yeah.
So that's what I'm talking about. So
it's funny that you say that, and I always find it like such a conundrum. Like, a lot of people have the opposite reaction to you, whereas like they don't like 1 through 3 because they don't look like 4 and 6. They look too like digital, and people could, it looks so digital. Blah, blah, blah. I was like, yeah, but on the flip side is most people like actually prefer like now to watch movies that are shot digital than to watch some of the, because like when you like read the 4K reviews, like they have to apologize if a film has film grain because people hate it, and it's weird that people are like with Star Wars they want it to look all grainy and shot on film, but with everything else they're like make it clear. I just want to see it 4K clear.
Yeah,
that is weird.
I'm not a weird snob about film grain like that. That's not what I'm talking about. I just mean more like you could tell those movies were made in the 70s or even before that maybe.
Well, one of them was made in the 70s, others were very early 80s.
Yeah, like you can tell the style of the way they're dressed was made in.
Oh no, you're right because Empire came out in 80, which meant it was really shot in 79. So,
so like that's really what I mean. I just mean like the style of the clothes. Whereas in episodes 1 through 3, you can tell the style of the clothes is a little bit more modern and like
it's more timeless too, I think.
Yeah, so like that's really what I mean. Like I don't even mean like film grain or anything like that. I don't mean like the production of the film, you know, like that doesn't bother me. I don't care. Like that's not a thing. It's just
yeah, but like I was wondering if you would be into this one, but like when we watched it the other night, like you seemed like I was surprised, like because like, especially early on, I was kind of like, oh, you know, because there's just like hardly any sport part in the first kind of hour of this movie. But like once it got into like all the like the hockey scenes, like you seemed like you were pretty like reacting to like the drama that was going on the ice and stuff.
Well, you know me, like I get all into sports, so it's like if I see something like that, and then just like the hits and everything, it was just like, oh my god, like, it was pretty good the way they did all the stunts and everything. So I bought it, and that's another thing. It's like when you watch a movie, you just gotta let yourself go. Like you just gotta let yourself drown in the world that the filmmaker is trying to create for you, and like I do that real easily. Like if you show me something good, like I can totally immerse myself in the world that like the filmmaker created. So it's like like I don't know, like the only thing that will keep me from like getting into a movie is if they do a lot of that like flashing stuff or blurry stuff where you can't see what's on the screen. Like you don't, they're trying to be like all avant-garde and like artsy-fartsy, and like that's the kind of stuff that takes me out, where I'm just kind of like, I don't know what's happening right now. I can't even see anything what's going on. This is just a mishmash of shapes and blurs that I don't even know what's happening.
I know.
That's the kind of stuff that takes me out, and that's what I mean by visually. Like that's part of the storytelling, the visuals. And it's like if you're showing me like you know, lens flares and suns shining in my eyes, and like it makes me want to look away from the screen, and I'm not paying attention anymore. You took me out of the movie. You didn't let me immerse myself in it. You made me want to fucking walk out of this room and like by showing me that. So it's very easy for me to immerse myself in a movie. So
well, that's the thing I really like about some of these older movies like this is like, you know, at the time, I mean, this movie, the way it was filmed was like state of the art in terms of like the guy invented a thing so he could skate around the ice and look, you know what I mean? Like, but it's not like now where they just shake the camera and then they do all this weird processing and shit.
Yeah, that's another thing that takes me out, shaky cam. I just can't. Like, it makes me just want to not watch it.
Yeah, it's like this movie is like, it's filmed more plain, like the camera angles, like the editing style, it's filmed more plain, but it's better because it's more like you can tell actually what's going on in the game.
Because that's what I'm sitting here for. I've chosen to sit here for the next 90 to 120 minutes to watch this movie. I want to be able to see what's happening, you know? It's like I just there's no point in me wasting my time watching something that I can't even make out, you know?
Something that's just like, it was like,
so like that's why like with this movie, like it, because there wasn't this like shaky cam kind of stuff, and like I was able to like get into it, you know? And it's like I don't need any fancy camera tricks or anything like that. Like I just want you to show me a good story and get me involved in what's happening and make me care, and that's all it really takes. But apparently that's hard for people for anything to happen.
Well, they're just not interested in that anymore. They've moved past that.
It's like I said, they want to know what's going to make money and not what's going to be a good story.
So thanks for joining us. I'm curious, you know, how many people will be tuning in this episode that have actually seen the movie before. I hope you guys are on the same wavelength that this is kind of like a little bit of a lost gem, because like honestly I didn't even really I don't know if I didn't know about this movie, but I just didn't think about it or hear anybody talk about it for so long. So it's kind of like a good one to get into now, just for everybody who's in it. It's fun. And it's just a good little simple movie that, you know, tells a story. It's entertaining. And, yeah, I hope to, you know, help bring this out of obscurity a little bit. Hope you guys, if you have seen it, are fans too. So, yeah. So, this is the last episode of September. We will be covering all horror films for October. I know some years... honestly, like when the podcast first started, I did one year when I went crazy and like I released like 8 horror episodes in October.
Really?
Yeah, and it just like, and that's when like our download numbers were really good, and they just kind of like bombed out because it was so much. Not only was it just so much for our audience to take, but it was also I'm sure at the same time, I'm sure every other podcast they were listening to was just doing nonstop horror. So like honestly, if you look back the last few years, I actually have even avoided horror during October just because I figure, well, people are getting all that horror shit. And plus, we cover horror movies throughout the year anyway. Yeah. Like, honestly, I think the biggest challenge for me for doing this show is trying to pick movies that aren't horror. Because horror are the ones that, like, everybody I know and talk to, like, that's the one thing we have in common, wanting to talk about horror movies. Yeah. And, like, you know, never wanted to do just a horror movie show here. So I always... kind of avoid just overdosing you guys on horror, but I'm thinking, well, this is a weird year. There's going to be a lot of great...
There should be horror.
Yeah, well, it is a horrific year. But there's probably like a lot of activities and things that you would normally do during October aren't going on. So I was like, we'll go back and do horror this October and, you know...
Give you a taste of Halloween somehow.
Yeah, give you as much... Because I love Halloween. It's my favorite holiday of the year. So yeah, so get ready for some horror, guys. Thanks for joining us for Youngblood. Boo, thanks for watching Youngblood with me.
Yep.
It was fun revisiting this little movie. Everybody, take it easy, stay safe, and we'll see you again soon, right here in the movie graveyard.
You're listening to the Electronic Media Collective Podcast Network. Yeah, it's a mouthful. For more great shows, visit electronicmediacollective.com.